Before getting into the actual content of this course, first of all, we have to ask ourselves is that what is a DOM even mean? So if you ask our good old friend like Google that what is a DOM even mean, so it will give us that definition that DOM simply stands for document object model, like D stand for document, O stand for object, M stand for model. Document object model, you just have to stick that into your mind. But now the question is, what does that even mean? Like, what is the meaning of document, what is the meaning of object and model? So let me just give you a quick definition of that. When a web page is loaded, the browser creates a document object model for the page. So like, let's suppose you visit to some sort of a web page like, I don't know, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. You visit some sort of a web application or web page, so that browser will create a document object model for us. And I'm assuming that you are still not with me. So let me just give you a quick example in coding about. Alright, so here you can see we have like this HTML code right here, and I'm assuming if you're watching this video is that you already know HTML and CSS. If you don't, so you can check out my 16-hour long course if you want to. Anyway, so let's suppose we have a file. Inside that file we have this coding, like we have body. Inside this body we have h1 with the text of hello, then we have a ul and two li's inside there. So we have 1 and 2 as the levels. So this is our code. We save our file, everything is working the way we expect them to work. We open that file in the browser. I want you to consider this is like a browser. Okay, so we open that file inside our browser, so that browser will convert our coding into a document object model. So it will just create a huge document object, and it will just create object for body, object for h1, for ul, li, if you have section, article, navigation, a footer, a sidebars, all of that stuff. It will just create object for all of that stuff which we have inside our files. Okay, so I want you to just stick that structure in your mind. So whenever we visit to some site, so that browser will convert that web page to something called document object model. So that was just a quick definition of document object model. So now let me just show you everything in a coding, then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So attached to this video, you will find a link which will bring you to my GitHub repository. So you can either clone my repository or you can download the starter files, and you can also download the finished file as well. So if you just open this folder right here, so we have a few other folders, like we have what is a DOM, accessing the DOM, inner text, content, HTML, class list, getting and setting attributes, sibling style, blah blah blah, and we also have this folder for projects as well. So I want you to just download this starter folder. Then I'm going to be just right clicking on it and click on this git bash, and then I'm going to just write code and period. And throughout this course I'm going to be using a Visual Studio Coder as my coder, and as a web browser I'm going to be using a Google Chrome. And if you want to use some other web browser or some other coder, so you are totally free to use that. But for me, I'm going to be using a Visual Studio Coder and a Google Chrome as my browser. Okay, so I'm going to just get into it. Let me just zoom in a bit. So starting from the first thing is that what is a DOM? We already learned that. So we have this index.html file and we have this app.js file right here. So inside this index.html file, we just have our basic HTML structure right here. And then inside this body, we just have our h1 with the text of hello world. And then we have another h2. We have like hello, not hello, welcome to the DOM section of this course. And then finally, we just link our JavaScript to our HTML. So I'm going to just right click on it and open it with a live server. So it will now open this file in a live server. So the next thing which I'm going to do is that I want you to just click on these three dots, and then I want you to just click on or hover over your mouse over to this more tools, and then I want you to just click on this developer tools, or you can also use this shortcut if you want to. And throughout the course I'm going to be using a shortcut. So chances are your will be set to elements. So if it's set to elements, you just have to click on the console. Okay, so it will just open a console for you. Anyway, so now let me just prove my point about the document. So what do I have to do? I'm going to just write console.log of document. So if you just write console.log of document, and if you save our file, and here you can see we get a document right here. So if we expand that, and now here you can see we are getting all of that properties and its value, different kind of values. And by the way, if you're not getting all of these properties and its values, so what do you have to do? You just have to write, instead of console.log, you just have to write console.dir for directory or whatever. So if you save a file, so it will now gives us that same result right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to just click on these three dots and like so. So now here you can see I just proved my point. Like here you can see we have a location property, a URL, and we have countless other. And I will highly encourage you to spend a little bit of your time on this document object, and we are going to be also using this document object throughout this course. So now let's suppose if you want to get your body, like you know what, you want to get like a head area, like this head area which we have right here. So head opening tag and head closing tag. So if you want to get there, so I'm going to just write, instead of console.dir, I'm going to write console.log, and I'm going to comment that first line, and I'm going to just write period. This document is an object, so we can access our properties and its method which we have inside this document object right here. So I'm going to just write period to access some sort of a property or element. So in this case I'm interested in a head property, so I'm going to just write head. And now if you save that, and now here you can see it will now gives us that head area right here. So we don't have nothing inside that. That's not true. Let's just see, we have a metadata, but it's not showing it anyways. You know what, we can also get a title. So I'm going to just duplicate this line of code, and instead of head I'm going to just write title, and if we save that, it will now give us the title of DOM right here. So we provide a title of DOM in this HTML, so it will give us that DOM in our console. Okay, so I'm going to just duplicate that, and let me just write a body. Let's suppose we want to get body, so I'm going to save my file, and now here you can see we have this body. If we expand that, and now here you can see it will now give us all of the properties and its values and different kind of methods related to this body right here. Okay, so we have countless properties and its methods and all of that good stuff. So we have inner HTML of that h1 of hello world, and then we have a new line of then h2 of welcome to the DOM section of this course. And you can also see the inner HTML, I mean like inner text and inner HTML. The input mode is set to empty string, and you can explore all of that in your spare time. Okay, so let's suppose if you want to get like base URI, so you just have to write document.base, not base URI, but you just have to write document.uri. So if you save that, and now here you can see it will now gives us that URL in which we are running our application. So this one right here. Okay, so it will now gives us that. So that was it about definition of a document object model. So I'm going to just close this file, close that file as well. And I am going to close that folder, and I'm going to expand this second folder which is accessing the DOM. Okay, so we have two files, so we have two other folders inside this accessing the DOM folder. We have an exercise one which you're going to be doing that by yourself, and of course I'm going to also give you my solution as well, but I will highly encourage you to solve this exercise by yourself. Now I'm going to expand this one, so we have this index.html file, and then we have our app.js file right here. Okay, so close that one. Okay, we wrote a little bit of code in there. I'm going to close that one like so. And now let's just get back, and here you can see we have a basic setup of our HTML right here, but we have a little bit of styling right here. So we select our h1, h2, h3, h4, h5, and what we did, we just provide a little bit of border of CCC 1 pixel solid. We provide 10 pixel of padding, and we also give him the max width of 400 pixel, and we also provide a box shadow of 0.5 and blah 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 of CCC. You will see the result just in a second. But inside the body area, we have our h1 with the label of get elements by tag name. Then we have our h2 with the id of main, and we have a label of get element by id. Then we have h3 with the class of cls, get element by class name. Then we have a h4 with the class of cls1 and also the id of 1, and we have a query selector. Then we have our ul, then we have a label of query selector all, and a few allies, and each of these allies will have 1 2 3 4, yeah, just 4. And finally we just add our script area right there. So if we just right click on it and open it with a live server, so it will now open our file in a live server. And I'm going to be also opening my developer tools. I'm going to stick that to the right like so, and this is how it looks like right now. Okay, so say bye bye to the other one, and now we are going to be working on or accessing our DOM elements. So I want you to just go to your not index.html file but app.js file. I'm going to just zoom in a bit. So if you have previously worked with the CSS, so you already know that first of all you have to select something, and then you can play around with that. Like let's suppose if you want to select something like I don't know, CSS selector, like some sort of a selector, and then you can just provide a property and a value specifically to that property. Okay, so you already know this. So the same will apply in JavaScript as well. So like the DOM, so we have a few methods to access our elements. So if you want to access something by using JavaScript, so we have a few methods right here. So we have get elements by tag name, get elements by ID, get elements by class name, but query selector and query selector all. And you don't have to worry about this one for now. So as the name suggests, that get elements by tag name will allows us to select something by tag name. Okay, like HTML element by tag name, and then we have a get elements by ID. So it will allows us to select something or our HTML element by using ID. So then we have a get elements by class name. So as the name suggests, that it will allows us to select our HTML element by using a class name. Okay, so in CSS, if you want to select something like maybe by the tag name, so you're going to be first of all writing h1 or h2 or whatever the tag name is. So in my case, I'm going to just stick to that h1, and then you can provide your content inside there. So this is the HTML, this is the CSS tag selector. And now if you want to select something by ID in CSS, so you're going to be first of all writing a pound symbol and then the name of the ID. Okay, so then we have a class selector. So if you want to select something by a class, you're going to be writing a period or dot, whatever you want to call it, and then the class name, and then opening curly brace and closing curly brace, and you don't have to worry about these two for now. So this is a CSS selector, so I'm gonna just remove that from here. I just kind of wanted to show you if you guys already don't know about that. So that was just kind of a CSS selector. So now if you want to select something by using a JavaScript, so we have a few methods. So now let's just use that. First of all, what do we have to do? I'm just asking you a question. So like, what do we have to do? First of all, if you want to select something, so we are going to be writing our document, because this document is our main object. So we are going to be accessing all of our properties and method from this document. So now if I want to access this method like get elements by tag name, so what do I have to do? I'm going to just write dot or period, whatever you want to call it, and then I'm going to just use the name of that method like get elements by tag name. Okay, and then opening curly brace, not curly brace, but opening parenthesis and closing parenthesis. And inside these parentheses, we just have to specify the element name. So which one we want to select. So if in this case we want to select that h1, so I'm going to just write h1 in it. Okay, so now let's just log that to the console real quick. So console.log, and like so. So if you save that, and now here you can see it will now give us the collection of that element. So we have 0 value because this is some sort of array, but it's not an actual array, it's a collection. If we have our mouse over to it, so here you can see it will now select that h1 right here, and the length is 1. Now let's suppose if you have more than one h1 inside our HTML document, so if you just duplicate that a few times, and now if you save that, and now here you can see inside this collection we are getting all of that h1s right here. So we have 1, 2, and blah 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 through 9, and here you can see the length is 10 right here, and you can also see the inside our web page right here. So I'm going to also get a length. So in some cases you would need the length of our HTML selector, so we can just duplicate this line and we can just write a length property on there. So if we save that, and now here you can see it will now give us 10, like the length is 10. So we have 10 items starting from the 0 through 10, so it will just give us 10 values, whatever you want to call it. So that was the first selector about get elements by tag name. I'm going to comment these, and I'm going to hit enter right here just for separation purposes, and I'm going to remove all of these H1 except that first line and zoom in a bit. So that was just a first selector, like get elements by tag name. If you want to select something by a tag name, so you can just specify the tag name. It doesn't matter if you provide like H1, H2, H3, 4, UL, span, article, section, aside, header, footer, etc. You just have to provide it inside these double quotes right here. Okay, so it will just select it for you. So that was just it about for first selector. Now the next selector we have is a get element by ID selector. It's a method, but it allows us to select something by using ID. So what do we have to do? I already gave you the answer, so I want you to give me the answer. What do we have to do to access this element? Well, first of all, we just have to write document, and then we can access or get element by ID method on there. So what do we have to do in this case? We just have to give them the ID name right here. So what is the ID name? The ID name is main. So I'm going to just copy there and I'm going to put it right here. And let's just log that to the console and see what will we get. And now if you save that, and now here you can see we have that H2 with the ID of main right here. So if you click on that, we have different kind of properties and its values for this H2 right here. Okay, so this is our H2. And this is how we can select something by using get element by ID method right here. So if you have another ID, like I don't know, maybe if you want to select this one, so I'm going to just copy this ID and I'm going to paste it right here, and I'm going to just save my file. And here you can, it will now give that H4 with the ID of 1 and also the class of 1. So like CLS1, so here you can see we have a class of CLS1. Okay, so this is how we can select something by using ID get element by ID selector. So I'm going to copy this main and I'm going to paste this main right here. It will now give us that main right here. I'm going to comment this line out as well. Let's just start working on our next one, like get elements by class name, and as the name suggests that it will allows us to select our element by using a classes. So first of all we have to write a document, so then we want to get or get element by class name, kind of a long method right here, but here we have to specify our class name in a quote. So which kind of class we want to select? So we want to select this CLS class. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it right here. So if we save our file, then we have to log that to the console so that we can see everything a bit better. I'm going to zoom out, and this is how it looks like. So we have console.log, then we have our document, and we are accessing this method on this document. Okay, so the value we provide our CLS, and now you want to check if that value is available or not. So if you save our file, and now here you can see it will now gives us that value right here. So we have this H3 with the class of CLS, and now if you have our mouse over to it, it will now select or highlight there in that kind of a orange color right there. Okay, so we are now selecting this one. What if you don't have like that class? If you just provide invalid class, like I don't know, maybe if I just provide Apple, and if you save that, it will now gives us nothing because this HTML collection did not found that Apple class, so it will now gives us empty collection right here. Okay, so what if we provide this class right here, so like CLS1, copy that and I'm going to paste it right here. So if you save our file, and now here you can see it will now select that H4 with the ID of ID1 and also the class of CLS1 right here. Okay, so it will now select this CLS1 right there. Anyways, so that was just it about for get element by tag name, get element by ID, and get elements by class name. So now what about this query selector and this query selector all? So now let's just discuss that a bit. I'm going to comment this line out and I'm going to start working on our query selector. So query selector is the most used one and my favorite one, selectors. So throughout the course you're going to see me using query selector. If you want to use like some other selector, like maybe tag name, ID name, blah blah blah, which we already learned, so you can also use that, but for me I'm going to be using this one. And I'm not saying that you don't have to use the other one and you should use this one. I'm just saying like I really like query selector because it allows us to select something or select our elements by using just a CSS selector. So if you want to select something by query selector, so you just have to write like I don't know, if you want to select like class, so we have to just write period. If you want to select ID, so we have to write pound symbol. If you want to select a tag, so you just have to write a tag name. Okay, so I'm going to show you that just in a second. First of all, we have to just write document, then query, and then selector. Okay, so query will be in lowercase, and then this S will be uppercase, and then the rest of them will be in lowercase. Okay, so this is how the syntax will look like. And then we have our opening parentheses and closing parentheses, and inside these parentheses we are going to be writing our strings. So here, if you want to select something by tag name, let's suppose, so you just have to write a tag name like h1 maybe. If you want to select this h1, so we are going to be just writing or h1. And now let's just log that to the console real quick. So console.log. And now if you save our file, and now here you can see it will now select that h1 right here. Okay, so if you want to select something by class, so you just have to write period or dot and then the class name. So what was the class name? The class name was CLS. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it right here. So if you save our file, it will now give us that h3 with the class of this CLS. If you don't have some classes, like maybe I just want to write my own name, and if you save our file, it will now give us nil or null, whatever you want to call it. And let's suppose if you do provide this class right here, but we forgot to include that period, and now if you save that, it will still give us that nil class right here. That's because we forgot to include that period right here. Okay, so that was it about how you can select something by tag name and class name. Now let's just learn about ID selectors. So if you want to select this ID, so we are going to be copying this name, paste right here, but first of all we have to write our pound symbol right there. So we have to specify this pound symbol and then the ID name as just like a CSS selector. And now if we save our file, it will now select that h4 right here. So here you can see we have that ID of 1 on this selector. So yeah, that's that. Anyways, so that was it about query selector, but it will just gives us one element at a time. So if that selector, like I don't know, let me just show you that real quick. So we have CLS1, CLS2. You know, I'm going to duplicate this line of code a lot of times. And now if you save that, okay, so I'm going to put my CLS right there. So CLS, and now if you save that, it will just select that first one. It will not select all of them. Here you can see we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 classes right here. So we reuse this class like 6 times, but it will just select the first one, like this h3. It will not select this one, that one, and not any of them, but it will just select the first one. So if you want to select all of them at once, so for that we have another method called query selector and all right here. Okay, so I'm going to comment this line out, and instead I'm going to be just writing like document.query selector all, and now let's just provide or query selector all, like just period and CLS. And by the way, if you want to select something by using a ID, so you just have to provide a pound symbol. If you want to select something by tag name, so you just have to provide a tag name like h1 or span or section or whatever. All of them will work in here as well, just like a CSS selector. But now in this case, we want to select all of their LIs, CLS classes. So we just provide CLS. I'm going to just write console.log, and if we save our file, it will now select all of these CLS right here. Like, why am I saying CLS? Yeah, CLS is the class. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so it will now select all of their CLS. So I'm going to comment this line out. And now let's suppose if you want to, I'm going to remove that. Now let's suppose if you want to select all of these LIs at once, so for that we can use this query selector all as well. I'm going to just write console.log of document dot query selector all, this method inside this query selector all. I'm going to just provide li right here. So if you save that, it will now select all of these li right here. So we have li 1, 2, 3, 4 right here, and the length is also 4, and we can also provide dot length property in this one as well, so it will now give us the length of 4. Anyway, so that was it about a little bit of query selectors and all of that kind of a good stuff. Okay, we have to provide our quotes in there. What else I wanted to show you? Okay, so if I just write like li right here, and instead of query selector all, if I just remove that all, and if you save that, and here you can see it will now just select the first one right here, like this one. A lot of talking. I'm going to just provide a query selector all. I'm going to comment this line out. So now here you can see we are just console logging all the time. We have like console log 1, 2 and blah 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 a lot of times right here. So instead of logging everything to the console, we can also store everything in variables. And I'm assuming that you already have a little bit of knowledge about JavaScript. If you don't have a little bit of knowledge in JavaScript, so you can check out my course or entire playlist. I've got totally entire playlist for you. You can check it out and it's totally for free. So now let's suppose if you want to select something and you want to store the value of that in some sort of a variable, so you can also do that. So let's suppose if I want to select that h1, so I'm going to just write const h1 or let h1 or var h1, so you can use whichever kind of you like, but in my case I'm going to just select that h1, and here I'm going to just write document.query selector of our h1. Okay, so we are using a tag selector. So if you just log that to the console like h1, and if you save that, it will just log that h1 to the console. And the name doesn't matter, you can give him like Apple name. Let's just select that Apple, and it will still work, but you have to specify the correct selector inside this method right here. Okay, this is just a simple variable, so you can store your values inside this variable. So I'm going to just set back that to h1. So h1, you can also just set that to like I don't know, h1l or element if you want to, but in my case I'm going to just stick to that h1. So if you save that, it will now give us that h1. If you want to store multiple values like query selector all, and you want to select that LIs, so if you save that, it will now give us the collection of all of these LIs right here. Okay, so everything is working the way we expect them to work. Okay, so we are totally done with this section. So in this section we just learned about a few selectors. We learned about get element by tag name. It allows us to select something by using a tag name. Then we learn about get element by ID. We also learn about get element by class name. We learn about a query selector and query selector all. Query selector and query selector all will allows us to select our element by just using a CSS classes like period, pound symbol, and all of that kind of a good stuff. But this will just give us the first element, but it will not give us the collection, and this one will give us all of the collection like so. Okay, so now it's challenge time. I want you to just open this file, and I want you to just open this app.js file, and I want you to just read through this instruction and solve this challenge by yourself. If you can do it, that's totally okay. Then I want you to come back and continue with the video, and now I'm going to give you my solution. So what are they saying? Select element h4 which holds the text of red by using get element by tag name. So let's just explore our HTML. I'm gonna hide this head area. So we have this h4 with the text of red right here. So what do we have to do? We have to select that by using get element by tag name. Oh my goodness, it's kind of the most simplest challenge I can give you. So let's just write const and let's just store that inside h4, and I'm gonna just use document dot get elements by tag name, elements by tag name like so. Now let's just put our h4 in it, and now let's just log that to the console like h4, and now if you save that, and boom. Okay, so we have launched this index.html file, my bad. Launch this one, save a byte to the other one, open our console, and here you go. We have our h1, and we have our h4 right here with one element selector right here. Okay, so let's just refresh that, open it, and there we go. We have our h4. All right, so that was the first solution. Now the next thing which you have to do is that we have to select a div with a class of green which hold the text of green as well by using get element by tag name. So let's just explore that. We have a div with a class of green, and we want to select that by using this get element by tag name. So let's just write or const and then green in this case, and document.get elements by what? By class name. And now let's just put, or not period, but we just have to specify the name because we are not working on a query selector. And now let's just log that to the console like green. And if we save that, it will not. Okay, so something isn't working. Get element by class name, it's a green. Oh my god, it's a green. And now if we save there, and it will now give us div with a class of green right here. Okay, so the second challenge is also done. I'm going to comment both of these console logs from there because we don't want it to clutter or console. So the third thing which you have to do is that select div with the ID of blue, which holds a text of blue by using get element by class name. Yeah, there we go. So let's just see, we have a div with a class, not class but ID of blue, and the text is also blue. So we just have to write like const blue, and inside bul blue, and it will be now equals to document dot this get element by class name. I'll just copy there. I cheated a bit. You can also do cheating if you want to. And now let's just log this blue to the console, and now if you save that, okay, so the class of one, select the div with the ID of blue. Okay, so we are using a class name, not a class name. Get element by ID, my bad, sorry. This one is a tag, this one is a class name. Get element by ID, copy there, and I'm gonna pass it right here. Set. Alright, so here you can see it unlock uses div with the class of blue. And by the time you're watching this video, you will get this correct instruction. You will not see that query selector or whatever that was. I mean, like get element by class name, it will be a get element by ID. I'm going to comment this line out, and now what else do we have to do? Select div which has the class and ID of yellow by using query selector. Let's just see. Okay, so this one do have a W at the end, so div with the class of yellow, ID of yellow, and text of yellow. So we are going to be using that using a query selector. I'm going to just write const yellow, and it will be now equals to document dot query selector, document dot query selector of just yellow in the class, and let's just log that to the console real quick like yellow. So there, it will now select it as a class. We can also select it as ID because we have a yellow ID as well, and we can also select we cannot select it by anything else, so we just have to either select it by class or by ID. Alright, so that's working. Let's suppose if we just forgot to include that pound symbol, save it, it will not give us nil. We already expected that. Comment this line out. So the final thing which you have to do for this exercise is that select all of the elements which has the class of teal by using query selector all. Okay, so let me just show you that in real quick. Const all teals, you can give them any name you like, document dot query selector all, and inside that we are going to be selecting our teal. Okay, so let's just log that to the console like all teals, and now if you save that, it will now select all of these teals right here. So if I hover my mouse over to it, so it will now select all of these teals right here. Okay, so let's suppose if you just provide query selector instead of query selector all, and if you save that, it will now just gives us the first one. It will not give us the rest of them. So that's just the difference between query selector and query selector all. So in this section we just learned about accessing element by using the DOM, accessing the DOM element by using JavaScript. There we go. So now that we learned how we can access elements from a DOM, the next topic which we are going to be discussing is how we can get the inner text, inner content, and inner HTML. So we have two folders. We have a live coding. So I'm going to just open my index.html file and also the app.js file, and then we would have our exercise. Okay, so just right click on it and open it with a live server. So it'll now just open our file in a live server, and I'm going to also open my dev tools as well. So now I'm going to just grab this head area for now, and now here you can see we have our p tag. Inside this p tag we have a few just random words right here, and we also have this strong tag right here, and we just put a little bit of text inside this strong tag as well, and then we have a script tag inside this paragraph as well, and then we just log that to the console like Hussein here, right here. Okay, and then finally we just have our h1 with the text of hello world. So in this video we are going to be learning about, in this section we are going to be learning about three properties. The first one will be inner text, the second one will be inner text content, and the third one will be inner HTML. So this is what we are going to be learning. So first of all, we are going to be selecting our paragraphs. So you already know how to select that. We already learned a lot about selectors. So we are going to be writing p document dot what query selector, and you can choose whichever kind of selection method you like, but I just choose query selector. So now let's just start from the first one, which is that inner text. So if you want to get the inner text from some sort of an element, so we can just use the inner text property for that. Let me just write a console.log of paragraph and then dot inner text right here. So if we save that, and now here you can see it log uses that inner text right here, totally formatted. I'm going to open that in separate window so you guys can see everything a bit better. Here you can see we have that Hussein here. That's because of this script tag right here. So we have like console.log right here. Inside this console.log we just have Hussein here right here. And you cannot see that script tags right here. It will give us all of that HTML content right here, but we cannot see that script tag, and we cannot see that Hussein here right here. If we just hit Control F, and we can also search for a script, and it will not give us any script tag right here because we don't have any. This inner text property will give us all of the text, but it will be totally formatted, and it will not give us any content like any HTML and any JavaScript kind of a content. It will just gives us a pure text right here, just a simple pure text. Alright, so that was the first one. Now let me just duplicate that, and I'm going to comment this line out, and now let's just change that to something called a text content. So if you save that, and now here you can see we are now getting this text right here, but it's totally unformatted, and we are also getting this console.log right here, but we cannot see that script tag. That's because the script opening tag and script closing tag is HTML elements, and also these strong tags are also HTML elements. So we cannot see either a strong tag, and we cannot also see that script opening tag and script closing tag right here. So this text content property will just give us the content which is inside our HTML document. So it will not give us the HTML elements and stuff like that. It will just give us a pure text. It will give us a pure content. And this final property will give us everything. So we have an inner HTML and field save there. And now here you can see it will also include this strong tag right here, like strong opening tag and strong closing tag. And it will also include the script opening tag, script closing tag, and also this content inside the script tag. And it will now give us everything. Okay, so we can also change that if you want to. You know what, I'm going to comment both of these line out, save our file, and we just have our clear console. I'm going to also remove that, or I'm going to comment that out for a second. Save that. We have a clear console right here. So we can also change that text if you want to. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select this h1 right here, and I'm going to change its content. So I'm going to write h1 document.query selector of h1. So now if you want to change the inner text of that h1, so I'm going to just write h1.inner text. So I'll just write text, and it will be now set to text changed. Okay, so if you save that, I'm going to stick that to the right, and here you can see we are now getting text changed. If I comment this line out, and by default we are getting hello world, that's because of this h1 of hello world. And if you want to change that, so we can just write dot inner h, so we can just provide dot inner text property, and we can change this text to anything we want. And if we save our file, it will now change this text to text changed. Okay, so we can also change the HTML if you want to. So I'm going to just write h1.inner HTML, and it will be now equals to, like, I don't know, emphasis would be fine. So I'm going to just use M, and I'm going to just write 1 2 3 in it. Okay, so let's just close that real quick, like M opening tag and M closing tag, and then this, as the name suggests, that it will also provide the inner HTML. So if you save that, and here you can see it will first of all give us 1 2 3, and it will also italicize that right here. Okay, so if you just provide like my own name, like Hussein web dev, and if you save that, and it will just make it italic, and also what do we call it, it will also change the text to be like Hussein web dev. Okay, so we can also provide I don't know, a del tag. So if you just provide a del tag, del, and if you save that, it will just line through. We can use our HTML by using this inner HTML property. So these stuff can be very useful and very dangerous in some scenarios, but you don't have to worry about all of them for now. You're going to learn all of that once we jump into some sort of a project. So we are totally done with our inner text property, text content property, and inner HTML property as well. So I'm going to just remove that. And now let's just get into our exercise. So I'm going to open this index.html file, style.css file, app.js file. Okay, so right click on it and open it with the live server so we can see everything in a live server like so. Alright, so we have a few content. I'm going to collapse this head area from here. So let's just zoom out a bit. First of all, we have a section with the class of container. We have a section with box 1 and box 2. Inside of this box, we have our h1 with the class of first, and we have a few lorem ipsum right here. Okay, then we have a section 2 with the class of 2 and box. Then we have h1 of second, and we have a little bit of text in there. Then we have box 3, and then we have h1 of third, and we also have a span of special right here, and we just wrap this text inside that span. And finally we just have our strong tag right here, like strong opening tag and strong closing tag. And this is the result of all of that right here. Okay, so in CSS we don't have crazy CSS, but first of all we have our resets. Then we just change the background color of the body to totally black. The text color will be white. We select our boxes, so all of these boxes. So we have box in here, this one is a box, this one is a box, and so on and so forth. We provide a max width of 600 pixel, margin will be 20 pixel, padding will be 20 pixel, border will be 1 pixel all around. Then we have a special class, which is this special class right here, like these spans, and we just provide a color of teal and font size, like font style of italic. And then finally we just select word strong, which is that strong right here, and we just give them a little bit of color of kind of a orangish or brownish or whatever you want, kind of a brownish color right here. So this is it about our HTML, and this is it about our CSS. So what do we have to do in our JavaScript? Check the inner text of the first element. So what is the first element? Let's just see. If you just hit, okay, so we have this first element right here. So if you want to check the text of that first element, so for that we just have to create our variable const first, and it will be now equals to document.query selector of period and first. Okay, so now we get that. Let's just log that to the console, save it, and here you can see we are now getting this h1, and we have a little bit of lorem ipsum inside there. So if you want to get a text of that first, so for that we can just write like dot inner text, so inner text, and now if you save that, and it will now give us the inner text of all of that h1 right here. Okay, so that's it about our first step. So what do we have to do in a second step? So check the text content of the second element. So first of all we have to see, do we have word second? Yeah, we do have that second right here. Let's just select that. I'm going to just write const second, and it will be now equals to document.query selector of second. Okay, so now if you want to check the text content, so I'm going to just write second dot text content, but we have to wrap that in our console.log so that we can see it. I'm going to comment this line out, and I'm going to save my file, and now here you can see it will now use the content but without formatting whatsoever right here. Okay, comment this line out. The third thing which you have to do, and the final thing which you have to do for this exercise, is check the inner HTML of the third element. So let's just see what do we have inside this third element. So inside this third element we have our span with the class of, with the class of special, and then we have a strong opening tag and strong closing tag. So it will show up all of these spans and all of these gibberish. So let's just select that. First of all, const third, and it will be now equals to document.query selector of third. Okay, so we just have to write console.log third dot inner HTML in this case. And now if you save that, and now here let me just separate that, and now here you can see we are now getting span with the class of special and the text of, I can't pronounce and we also have this strong opening tag and strong closing tag. If I change that to like I don't know, inner text right here, so if I just change that to inner text, so it will not include all of that, but it will give us that in a formatted fashion. If we change that to inner, not inner but text content, and if we save that, it will give us that like so without any code whatsoever. So if you just write like inner HTML, save it, it will give us that inner coding inside that text. So that was it about inner HTML, text content, and inner text right here property. So now that we learned that what is a DOM, how to access elements from a DOM, and how to see the text content, inner HTML, and the text inside that element. Now the next thing which you have to do is that we have to learn about a class list property and how we can add classes to our elements and how we can remove classes from our elements and how we can do toggling of our classes. So we just have app.js file and we have our index.html file. Right click on it and open it with a live server. So it will now open this file in a live server. I'm going to open my dev tools, set that to the right like so. I'm gonna just hide my metadata from there, and inside this body area we just have our h1 with a class of styles, and we just provide our hello world inside there. And now if I expand there, and here you can see inside this styling we have our styles class right here, and we just provide a color of crimson. Font weight will be totally normal. Font size, not font size, but font family will be sans serif, and text decoration will be line through. Okay, and we are now getting all of these styles right here. Okay, so now let's get into our class list property first of all. So now let's just select our h1 and then we can interact with that. So first of all, let's just write our const of h1. You can store it in let and const as let and var as well. And now let's just select our h1 right here. So now let's just write like const.log of h1.class list. And now if you save that, it will now give us the list of all of the classes which we provide to this specific element right here. So we have just one class right here, so that's why we are getting the length of one right here. But if you have multiple classes, like I don't know, if I just remove the styles, if I change that to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you have a lot of classes, and now if we save that, it will now give us all of their classes right here, all of the list of their classes right here. Okay, so I'm going to just undo that to styles, save there. And this is how it looks like right here. So this class list property will allows us to check all of the classes which this specific element has. So we just have our selector, and then we can just use this class list property on there. Okay, that was it about for classes. Now the next thing which we have to do is that we have to learn about how we can add classes to specific elements. So how can we go about doing that? Let's suppose if I just remove this class from here. So if you save that, and now here you can see we don't have any classes, any styling in whatsoever on this hello world, and we don't have any values inside our console right here. So we don't provide any classes, anything inside this h1, but we do have that class of styles right here. But now if you want to attach this class to this h1 by using JavaScript and interacting with the DOM, so for that we can just use that h1. First of all, we will just select our h1, and then we are going to be selecting our class list property, which allows us to give us the list of that property, and then we can use a useful method called add. So as the name suggests, that it will just add class to our element. Now we have to give the name of that class inside double quotes. So I'm going to just write styles right here, and now if you save that, and here you can see it will now apply that class to it right here. So here you can see we are now getting these styles. We don't have that class right here on this element, but if you just right click on it, click on inspect, here you can see it did provide that styles class to it right here. Okay, let's just go back to the console, and now let's just see. I'm gonna copy this line out, paste it right here, uncomment it and save it, and now here you can see we are now getting the styles class right here, and the value will be also styles, and the length is set to 1. Okay, so this is how we can set classes to our elements. Now the next thing which you have to do is that how we can remove classes from our elements. So now in this case we attach this class right here. So now if you want to remove this class from this h1, so what do we have to do? I'm going to duplicate this line of code, and now instead of add, I'm going to just write remove right here. So remove, and then let me just write remove real quick. So remove, and then the class name. So now if you save that, and here you can see that styling is gone. And if you just right click on it and click on this inspect, so here you can see it also gone from here. So we do have that class keyword right here, but we don't have any value for that. So that's why we are not getting that. Let's suppose I'm going to comment this line out and save our file. So you already know that we don't have any classes on our h1 right here. But if I just add, I'm going to also comment this line out as well, save our file. So we don't have any classes whatsoever on our h1. So let's just write our class right here of styles right here. So if you save that, okay, so I messed it up something, copy it, copy, paste it, and now we are getting the styles. Alright, so now if you want to remove that style from this h1, so we just have to uncomment this line of code. So we have first of all the selector like the tag name, then we have a class list, and now we are removing this specific class from this h1 element. So now if you save that, and it will now just remove that class from it. If you just provide apple in this here, so if you save that, it will not remove that apple because we don't have any apple class on this h1. We don't have any apple class in this class list, so that's why we cannot remove that. So let's just provide styles back, and it will now just remove that. And now finally let's just learn about my favorite property, or method to be precise, which is known as a toggle. So as the name suggests, that it will just toggle the classes. If we have class, so it will just remove it. If you don't have a class, so it will just add that specific class to it. So I'm going to just show you that just in a second. I'm going to write h1, then class list, and then toggle. Okay, so inside this toggle I'm going to give him a class of like, I don't know, apple, and we don't have any apple classes anywhere. So if you save that, and let's just see, okay, so let's just remove that class from here, and we don't have any apple class anywhere. I'm going to right click on it and go to inspect area, and now here you can see it did provide that apple class right here. That's because we are using this toggle class right here. What if I just provide a styles to it? So if I just write styles, so it will now just add that style class right here. I removed that class from here, but we do provide it right here. And what if I just provide it right here? Let's just write class of styles and save that. It will just remove it. So it will just go the other way around. So if we have class, it will remove it. If you don't have that specific class, so it will add it. This is how the toggling works. So how can I put that in other words? Let's suppose if you have a class of you know what, that's fine. You just have to play around with that by yourself. So let me just say that one more time so you guys can just understand it a bit better. If we have the style class on this h1, so it will remove it. It will just remove it. But if you don't have access to that style class on this h1, so it will just add it right here. So this is what a toggle do for us. So I'm going to just comment this. Oh, you know, we're not going to be commenting anything. So we are totally done with this section as well. Now what else do we have to do? The next topic which you are going to be learning about is something called getting and setting attributes. So this is what we are going to be learning. I'm going to click on this live coding, go to the app.js file and index.html file as well. I'm going to comment or collapse this head area, and now inside this body area we have just one anchor tag which will just go to a Facebook homepage, and then we have our one input area right here with the type of text. So this is what we have so far. Alright, so that's it for the index.html file. I'm going to right click on it and copy, open it with live server, and this is how it looks like. I'm going to also open my developer tools as well. So we are going to be learning about href attribute, value attribute, type, and also get element, like get attribute, and then the attribute name, and then set attribute, the attribute name and its value. Okay, so we have this href right here. So first of all, what do we have to do? We want to select that anchor tag and we want to get that href attribute from there. So first of all, we are going to be writing const and then a, and let's just store that in the anchor tag, and now let's just get our a right here. Okay, so if you just log that a to the console, you already know what we will get, so we will just get this anchor tag right here. So if you want to get an attribute from this anchor tag, so for that we can use dot href. So if we save our file, it will now give us the value of that href right here. But if you don't have the value of that href, so let me just cut that from here, save it, it will not give us nothing right here because we don't have access to that href, so it will not give us nothing. I'm going to paste it one more time. So we do have this href value of just a facebook.com, so that's why we are getting this href right here, href value right here. Alright, so that is the first thing. You know what, we can also change that to something else, like maybe I don't know, www.youtube.com and /Hossein web dev, my YouTube link. Okay, so let's just zoom out a bit, and this is how it looks like. I'm gonna save that. So here you can see it will now change that to youtube.com. Okay, so this is how we can provide new values to it, and this is how we can get elements or get values of our elements. So that's the first attribute. Now let me just duplicate that. And you know what, I'm gonna also get my input tags as well. So this input I'm talking about, I'm going to write const input and will now set to document.query selector of just a simple input right here. Okay, so that's the first attribute. Now the next attribute which you're going to be learning is that let's just log that to the console. First of all, input dot value. So if we save that, and we will see nothing. That's because we don't have no values, nothing inside this input area right here, so we will get nothing. But if you do have a value, let's just provide a value to it. So let's just write a value of I don't know, hello. And now if you save that, and we are not getting this hello right here, and that's the value which we provide right here. Okay, so that's how we can get a value from an input. So that's the second attribute we get. Now the next attribute which we are going to be getting is a type attribute. So I'm going to remove that value and set that to the type. And now if you save that, and type is set to text, and we set the type to text right here, so that's why we are getting this text type right here. So if you just change that to, like, I don't know, email, save it will now give us email. If you just write a password, it will now set it to password. It will, if you just write something else, like something else, and now if you save that, and it will give us a text because this something else is invalid. Okay, and by default it will just set that to text. And now if you save that, and everything is working the way we expect him to work. So that's it about how we can get a different kind of attributes from different kind of elements. So now let's just learn about how we can set values to the different kind of elements. So now we have our anchor tag, and now we can just change this href to something else, like, I don't know, maybe my own YouTube name, like www, or you know what, https and then colon www.youtube.com/@Hussein Web Dev. Okay, and now if you save that, and now we have a Facebook. So if you click on that, and it will now brings us to my YouTube channel right here. Let's just wait for it to render. Alright, so here you can see that Go just got here already. I'm gonna close that one. This is how we can get the values or getting the attributes. So getting attributes, and this is about setting attributes, like setting attributes like so. Alright, so now if you want to set the value of something else, like maybe let's just write console.log of input.value, and if you want to change that to something else like hello, and now if you save that, and we're not, oh, we already have a hello. If you want to just say that to, like, buy, save it, and we are now getting buy in here and also in here. So let's just log the type to the console real quick. So input.type is already set to text, but if you want to change that to password, and now if you save that, it will now change it to password in here, and here you can see this will also be affected right here. Okay, so this is how we can set an attribute. And now let's just learn about a placeholder. So we can also just provide a placeholder to our forms and inputs. So please provide a strong password would be fine. Okay, so let's just zoom out. Let's just zoom out a bit, and now if you save that, but we have to comment this line out. And now if you save that, and let's just remove this value from there, save it. Oh my god, we already set a value in here, so comment this line out. And now you're getting, like, please provide a strong password. That's because of this placeholder attribute. So this is how we can get attribute, and this is how we can set new attributes. So I'm going to comment both of these line out as well. Alright, so now the next thing which you have to do is that we are going to be learning about a method called get attribute and then the attribute name. So let me just write that in here. Oh my god, let's just write get attribute and then the attribute name, like a attribute name in here. So I'm going to just write console.log in here, and then let me just select my input, and we can just write get attribute method right here. And now let's suppose if you want to get a type, so we will just provide a type, save it, and we will get like text right here. So let's suppose if you want to get, like, I don't know, let's just provide a placeholder to it as well. So placeholder will be email. So placeholder is now set to email. Here you can see that. And now if you want to get an email, so we can just write an email, save it, Okay, instead of writing email, we can just write placeholder like so, and now if you save that, and we are now getting email right here. Okay, so this property, or this method to be precise, will allows us to get attribute from a specific kind of elements. Okay, so we can also set attribute to elements. So that was it about for getting attribute. So now let's just learn about a set attribute. So set attribute, ATTRIBUTE. Did I spell it correctly? So set, yeah, let's just copy that, and I'm gonna paste it right here, and then the attribute name, like the attribute name, and we can also provide different kind of values to it. So let's just write console.log. Let's just write console.log of input. First of all, we have to get our input, and now let's just use set attribute method on it, and here we want to get like placeholder, PLACE holder right here, and now you want to provide a value of like I don't know, password maybe. So we can just provide a new value of password. It is currently email, so we can also change that to password. So if we save that, and here you can see it will now change it to password, and we don't have to provide that in console. So let's just remove this console from there, and this is how we can set a new value. So now let's just change that to like, I don't know, type to be password as well. So I'm going to also change the type to be password. So if you save that, and the type will be also set to password. So this is how we can get attribute, and this is how we can set attribute, and these are the methods we have for getting attribute and setting attributes. Alright, that was a lot of talking. Now let's just get into our exercise, and now let's just tackle this exercise, and I will highly encourage you to do that by yourself, but if you can't do it, I'm already always right here. Collapse this head area right here. So we have our anchor tag with the href of Twitter, and then we have our input area with the type of text. Then we have an anchor tag with the class of A2, and no hrefs on this anchor tag. Alright, so what do we have to do? First of all, let's just get into it. Select the anchor tag. Let's just select that by using, what was that? Anchor tag, yeah. I'm gonna write const anchor tag will be now equals to document.query selector of anchor tags. So the first step is finish boss. What else do we have to do? Use a get attribute name to check the attribute. Alright, so now let's just do that real quick. So console.log of a.get attribute, and let's just provide attribute name of like, which kind of attribute should we check? Okay, so we have an attribute of href. So now let's just put our href inside there, and if we save that, it will now give us Twitter right here. So that's correct. Now what else do you have to do? Select the A2 and set href attribute to it. That's kind of awesome. So we can just write like I don't know, let's just select this A2. Where is that? Alright, so we have this A2 right here. Let me just write const A2, and it will now equals to document.query selector of A-2. Okay, so what do we have to do? Set href attribute to it. So A2 dot set attributes of like, I don't know, href would be fine, and we can just give our own YouTube channel links. So https://youtube.com/@Hussain my channel link, and let's just log that h2 to the not h2 but h2 to the console. So if you save that, and we are now getting this a2. Okay, so it's a Udemy. I'm gonna change that to YouTube. Save it, and now if you click on that, it will now brings us to our YouTube channel right here. Okay. Alright, so we are totally done with this exercises as well, but for a bonus, yeah, you know what, I'm not gonna give you any bonus. You're not worthy of it. I'm just kidding, we don't have any bonuses. Alright, so now we are totally done with the getting and setting attributes. So now the next topic which you are going to be learning about is something called siblings. I'm gonna open my index.html file and app.js file, right click on it and open it with the live server, hide the metadata from there, and let's just see. Okay, siblings, fine. So we have a ul. Inside this ul we have not three but four allies, but we have a fourth one with a class of for this fourth one we have a class of fourth, and the other one don't have any classes and any IDs whatsoever. So this is what we have inside our body. Alright, so now let's get into our app.js file, and now let's just learn about a sibling. So first of all, let's just get our first li. So I'm going to just write let first li, and it will now equals to document.query selector of our li. So we already know that it will just give us the first li, and now if you just log that to the console like first li, and now if you save that and open it with a console and save a byte to that one, so here you can see we are now getting our first li right here. Okay, so now if you want to get the parent of this li, so like what will be the parent of this li? The parent of this li will be this ul. So what will be the parent of this ul? The parent of this ul will be this body. So what will be the parent of this body? The parent of this body will be our document, and then finally it will give us nil. So let's just see what will be the parent of this first li. So I'm going to just write parent elements, so it will give us the first parent of that element. So if you saw that, so here you can see we are now getting a ul right here. So the parent of this li is this ul, so that's why we are getting this ul right here. What if you just duplicate this line of code and we just use that same method, like same property as well, like parent element one more time. I'm going to zoom out a bit, and now if you save that, it will now use as a body right here, because the parent of the ul is now body. If you just wrap that in a section, let's just write a section, cut that from there, and I'm going to paste it right here. So it will now use this section right here, because the parent of this ul is now this section, so it will now use as this section. If you have article, navigation, aside, header, if you have all of that, so it will just go on and on and on and on, and you can check that again and again and again, like so. I'm going to just remove this sections from there, and we already know that we have the parent of body. But if you want to check the parent of this body, I'm going to just duplicate this line of code, and I'm going to just change that to parent one more time, parent element, and now we are getting this HTML right here, like a root HTML. So we have first of all ul, then we have we have a ul, and then we have a body, and then we have our HTML document. But finally, let's just check and let's just use that parent element one more time, like parent element one more time. I'm going to just zoom out a bit. So if you save that, and it will now give us nil, because we don't have any parents for this HTML, so it will now give us nil. Okay, so this is how we can get a parent for each of the elements. So this is the, so we can also just go from this one, so the parent of this one will be ul, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. So this is how we can get a parents from our elements. So I'm going to just comment this line out, and let's just learn about children. So how can we get a children? So let's just write first of all that ul and document.query selector, and we are now selecting this ul right here. Okay, so zoom in a bit. We are now selecting this ul, and now if you want to access the children, so for that we have our children property. So I'm going to just write console.log of ul.children. So if you just write children, and now if you save that, it will now give us the collection of all of these LIs right here. Okay, so we can also access each children if you want to, like we can just specify the index of 0. It will now give us the first one. So if you save that, and now here you can see it will now give us the first one. We can also get like the second one, the third one, the fourth one if you want to. If you save that, it will now give us all of that. But if you try to access the fourth one in this case, so it will now give us undefined, because we just have LIs from 1 through 4. We don't have more than that. So that's why we are getting this undefined right here. I'm going to remove that. Alright, so now we can also change the inner text to be like something else maybe, or we can also get the inner text if you want to. So let's just write console.log of maybe ul, and then children, children, oh my god, children, there we go. And now let's just select the first one. I'm gonna comment the other one, and now let's just get like inner text, inner txt, like so. And now if you save that, so the inner text is set to 1, so we are now getting 1. So if you just change that to something else, like I don't know, 1 as a letters, Yeah, so if you save that, so it will now change it to 1 like so. We already learned about text and stuff like that. I'm gonna comment this line out. So this is it about how we can get a parent, and this is it about how we can get a children. So now let's just learn about a siblings as well. So we have a first li. I'm gonna comment, or I'm gonna copy this line of code, comment this line out, and I'm gonna also comment this line out as well. So now let's just learn about a sibling. So we have our first line one more time, and now let's just write console.log of first li dot what next element sibling. So it will now give us the next element sibling, and now if we save that, let's just write text content so that we get to see our content. So we are now getting the second one right here. So this one is the first element, and if we just use that next element sibling property on there, so it will now give us the second property. So I'm gonna hit enter right here, zoom out a bit, and duplicate that. And now let's just use this next element sibling one more time and just write a dot in there, save it, and it will now give us 3, and the list will go on and on and on. I wanted to show you everything, but you don't have to go like that much crazy. Okay, so save it. It will now give us 4, but if you try to access this one more time, like so, let me just write it one more time, period. Save it. It will now give us uncaught type error, cannot read a property of nil, because this is a nil, so it will not give us nil. Okay, so this is how we can get all of the siblings. So I'm going to remove that final one because this one is a little bit cluttered. So we already learned about how we can get a parent, how we can get a children, and how we can get a next element sibling. So I'm going to comment both of these line out. Okay, and now let's just finally select our fourth li, which is this one, and let's just learn about a previous element sibling real quick. Let me just write let fourth li, and it will now equals to document.query selector of this fourth li, and I'm gonna be let's just log that to console like fourth li. And now if you save that, and you already know that it's that fourth one, if you just write text content of save there, it will now give us 4. Okay, so if you want to just get a previous element sibling, so we can just write previous, let me just write that previous element sibling. So if you just write that and save it, and it will now give us the third one. We can duplicate this line of code, and we can reuse that property, copy there, paste it right here, save it. It will now give us the second one right here. We can still reuse that one more time. Like this list can go on and on if you have a lot of elements, and I'm going to use it one more time and save it. It will now give us the first one. But if we try to access this the final time, so save it and nil, it will now give us a nil. Okay, so I know these are a lot of talking and a lot of typing and stuff, but you just have to remember that if you want to get a parent of some sort of element, so for that you just have to use a parent element property, and this list can go on and on. Like you can go as much deep as you want, but I just kind of want to give you these examples. Now if you want to get a children, so for that you have a children property. If you want to get a next element sibling, so for that you have a next element sibling. If you want to get a previous element, so for that you have a previous element sibling property. So that was it for these siblings. Now the next thing which you have to do is that we have to learn about styling, like how can we apply styling using JavaScript and not CSS. We already learned how we can toggle classes and stuff, but in this section we are going to be learning about how we can provide a styling through a specific element. I'm going to zoom in a bit first of all, and then we just have, you know what, let me just launch that and you'll get to see what it is. So we have a color of teal. Let's just open our dev tools real quick. So that's because we are providing this teal class right here. So I'm going to just remove that from here, and we have this hello world, and it's taking the color of the styling right here. So we just selected that, and we provide a color of crimson right here. Okay, but if you want to provide a styling using our JavaScript and interacting with a DOM, so for that we can use just a styles property. Let me just get my h1 real quick. So I'm going to write document.query selector. Oh my god, what is that? Zoom in a bit, and let's just select our h1, log that to the console real quick. And now here you can see we are now getting that h1. Now let's just type dot, and now let's just select our style. So if you save that, and here you can see it will now give us a CSS style declaration property. So if you just click on that, and we have crazy amount of styling right here. We have S and color, we have a line count, a line items, A for animation, animation delay, direction, duration, film mode, iteration count, name, and all of different kinds of properties, and its values set to empty because we don't provide any values to it. So let me just split there so that you guys can see everything. So we have border, we have a background properties, we have like width and height, a clear clip path property, columns, the display property. So we have all of these CSS properties inside that style property, which we wrote right here. This one is very, very, very powerful, but my suggestion will be to do not use that. Instead use classes and then toggle classes, but don't use that because it provides something called inline style. So let's suppose the color is now changed to, let me just see, the color is changed to, come on, oh my god, the color is changed to crimson right here. But now if you want to change the color to be something else, like maybe teal, so we can also provide that. So I'm going to just write like, you know, I'm going to remove this console log from here and write a dot. And now let's suppose if you want to provide a color property, so I'm going to just write color and change that to teal. And now if we save that, and it will now change the color to teal. So why is that? I'm going to just click on this mouse and I'm going to select that, and now here you can see it will now provide inline style to it. So we are now selecting and we are providing this inline style of color teal. If you want to provide a background color, so you can just write a background. And by the way, you're not allowed to write a CSS kind of style like background dash color. It will just think it's JavaScript, remember, it will just think like we have a background variable, then we have a color variable, and we are just removing something from this color, like we are just subtracting something from a color and we are just adding that to a background. So we'll just think about that. I'm going to remove this dash and I'm going to just write a camel case right here. So background color as a camel case. You can also go with a, no, you cannot go with a snake case because this is a JavaScript and we are working on a style. So you have to write that camel case. So the background color will be now in this case set to crimson. So if you save that, the background color will be now set to crimson and the text color will be now set to teal. We can also change that to white if you want to. We can provide hexadecimal values. We can do all of the CSS craziness by using this style property, but my suggestion will be to avoid using the style property because it's very powerful. And here you can see it will provide the styling inline right here. Okay, so I don't know, you can just play around with that. You know, you can just change that to like sky blue, and this is how it looks like. And you can just provide a transformation, animation. You can use all of these properties which I show you. Let me just show you that one more time. h1.style, and let's just comment both of these properties. Go to our console, split that, and just expand the CSS properties so you can just change like whatever you like. You can change the background image, or you can change the background origin, change the position, X is a repetition, the sizing of the background images, or whatever. Powerful and also very huge, like you can do whatever you want with that. Anyway, so enough talking. We are totally done with this styling and stuff. Now let's just get into our styling, I mean like our exercise. And now I want you to do this exercise by yourself. Okay, so we do have a lot of selectors and stuff. Let's just zoom out a bit and let's just see. Open our console real quick. Oh, you know what, this is a styling tag, so we don't have to open our console for that. So in HTML we just have our style, and we just have our style, and we select our h1. We provide a color of crimson to it, but I'm gonna just hide this head area from there. So inside a body we just have one container. Inside this container we have our h2 with a class of main headings, and we just say like welcome to the real world. Then we have a paragraph with a class of subheading, and we have a little bit of lorem ipsum. Then finally we have our anchor tag with the class of btn, and it will just say learn more, and finally we just add our scripts. So that's HTML. Now what else do we have to do? We are now selecting our container, this container right here. What else do we are doing? We are selecting h1, paragraph, and also that button. So what do we have to do as a challenge? Provide 400 pixel of height ought do container element. So that's the first thing. We already select our container element right there, so provide a 400 pixel height to it. I'm going to just select first of all my container. I'm going to use style and then height. Come on, not get element whatever, but style, and I'm going to just provide a height to 400 pixels, so it will be on quotes. And now if you save that, we cannot still see something because we don't have any background colors. Alright, so what else do we have to do? Change the background color of the container to teal. Let's just do that, baby. Container dot style dot background, and we can also just write a background color, but yeah, background color will be fine. We can go to just background if you want to, and now it will be set to teal, and voila, we are now getting that. So then we have a change the color of h1 to sky blue. So we already select that h1 right here. So let's just write h1.style.what should we have to do? To sky blue. So color will be now set to sky blue, and now if you save that, it will now just change this text to sky blue. What else do we have to do? Change the font family of the paragraph to sans serif. So we already select that paragraph, and let's just write paragraph dot what style dot font family to sans serif. Save it, and we'll now just change that to sans serif. It will remove the serifs from this font. Alright, so change the color of the paragraph to white. Let's just do the p.style.color, and it will now set to totally white. Save it, and the color is now totally set to white. And change the color of the button to pink. So let's just select, we already select that button right here. So btn that change the color of the btn to pink. So the style.color to totally pink. Save it. Yeah, we have a little bit of awful styling right here, but guess what, that's it, and we are totally done with our challenge. Alright, so we now tackle this challenge. We learn about a styling, and now let's just learn about a complicated topic called create element, append element, prepend element, insert adjacent, remove child, and remove. These are a lot of methods we have inside our DOM. I'm going to open my index.html file, style.css file, and app.js file. So we don't have anything inside any of them. And inside this HTML file, we just have our basic stuff. I'm going to comment, or I'm going to collapse this head area. We have a UL. Inside this UL, we have a 4 LIs, then we have a paragraph with a little bit of lorem ipsum in there, then we have a section, then we have a new list, and then we have a little bit of LIs inside there. Alright, so let's get into that. So in JavaScript, we just have a little bit of comments. So the first thing which you are going to be learning in this section is how to create element and how to use this create element method. Then we are going to be learning about how we can use this append child, append method, prepend, insert before, insert element, insert adjacent element, remove child, and remove. Okay, so we are going to be learning these methods in this section. So starting from the first thing, which is that create element. So if you want to create element using JavaScript, so first of all, we are going to be writing our comments for ourselves like creating elements, or element to be precise, just a singular. So suppose if you want to create an element, so first of all, you are going to be writing a document, and then you have a method called create element, as self-explanatory. So if you want to create anchor tag, you can just provide anchor tag. If you want to create like a bold tag, so you can just provide B. If you want to create h1, so you can just provide h1, and you can just provide section. If you want to, you can provide article if you want to, but in my case, I'm gonna just write h1 in it, and I want to store that in some sort of a variable like h1. So now we successfully create our h1. So now if you log that to the console.log h1, and now if you save that, and we have to launch this index.html file like so. Say bye to the other one, open our console right here. Alright, so now here you can see we just have our empty h1 right here. We don't have any classes, we don't have any IDs, we don't have any content inside this h1 right here. Okay, so basic h1. Alright, so now we successfully create our h1. So what else do we have to do? Now if you want to add content to this h1, so we already learned how we can add content to our elements. So for that we have h1.text content property, and we can just provide like hello world. And now if you save that, and let's just check that text content property like text content, and now if you save that, it will now give us that text content right here. Okay, so we can also provide classes to it if you want to. We already learned how we can provide classes to it, so we can just write h1.classlist.add, and we can just provide different kind of classes to it, like I don't know, greetings would be fine. So greetings. So if you save that, let's just remove that text content, and here you can see we have h1 with the class of greetings right here. And we can also do styling if you want to, so you can just write h1, but we cannot see the styling because we didn't append that to our DOM. So this is it about how we can create our element, how we can add text to our element, how we can attach classes to our element, how we can remove even classes from our element, like just write remove class if you want to. So now the next method which you are going to be learning about is append child method. And append child will just append or whatever text we have or whatever thing we have, it will append it at the end of the list. So let me just select first of all the body. I'm going to just write const body. It will be now set to document.body. So now we successfully select our body. Now we create our element, we provide text to our element, we provide class to our element, but we don't have that element inside our body. So if you want to push that element, that newly created element, to this body, so for that we can just use append child. So I'm going to just write body.append and then child. Okay, so I'm going to just set that h1. So if you save that, and here you can see it will now give us that hello world right here, but it will be at the end of this body. It will not be at the top, it will not be at the center, it will not be anywhere in here, but it will be at the bottom, because as the name suggests, that it will just append our element at the bottom of the list. So what is the bottom of the list? The bottom of the list is that final area right here, so it will just push it right here. If you change the text to be like goodbye, so if you save that, it will now change the text to goodbye. And also let's just make sure that we provide the classes to it. Let's just click on it. So here you can see we are now getting this greetings class right here. Okay, so everything is working the way we expect him to work. So this is how we can create our element, and this is how we can append it to somewhere. So we can like append it to our UL and LIs and all of that kind of good stuff which we learn. So you can just select like this UL, and you can append it right here at the end of this LIs right there. So now let's just do that. You know what, I'm gonna comment all of this coding from now, and I'm gonna just make a separator for ourselves. So alright, so now that we learned about a create element method and append child method, but now in this case we are going to be learning about insert before and then append, prepend, and insert before and stuff like that. Alright, so first of all we have to select our UL. So I'm going to just write document.query selector of this UL. Okay, so now let's just create our new item. So new, or you know what, let me just give a name of like new li, and it will be now set to document.create element. So we want to create an element, we have to just provide li right here. Okay, so we want to create a li, so that's why we provide li. Now let's just provide a text to it. So dot inner text to it, it will be now set to I am li tag. Okay, and now let's just append that to ul. So we already learned like how we can append that to ul. So we can just use like ul.append child. This is kind of a review, so new li. So now we successfully append that to ul. Okay, so now let's just get our first li. So const first li, and it will now equals to document.query selector, and we want to just select our first li, which is this one. Okay, and now let's just learn about our insert before. It's kind of a weird one. So insert before method is a little bit weird one, you have to remember that. So first of all we have a selector, then we have an insert before method on there. So it will just take two parameters, like what do you want to insert and then where do you want to insert it. So let me just show you that. So now let me just write ul and then insert before, and we want to provide so we want to provide new li, and we want to put it in a first li. So if you just save that, and it will now just put it at the top right here. Okay, so this is the first li, and it will now insert it before this first li right here. Okay, so the syntax is a little bit weird. First of all we have to select something, then we want to use this insert before, and then what do you want to insert and where do you want to insert it. Okay, So that was just kind of a quick introduction about insert before element, and now let's just learn about insert adjacent elements. So let me just comment out all of these lines for now. I'm going to comment it out, and let's just copy this line out, and I'm going to paste this separate right here. So we just learned about create element, append child, insert before. Now let's just learn about insert adjacent element right here. Okay, so go to the bottom, and now let's just learn about insert adjacent. So first of all, we have to select our paragraph, which is this paragraph right here. So we are going to be writing cons first, paragraph. So we are going to be just writing document.query selector of paragraph. So we already select our paragraph. Now let's just create our I tag. So I'm going to write I and then document.create element. So as the name suggests, that it will allow us to create our element of I, and then I.inner text will be now set to I am italics, or whatever you want to call it. And we can also provide a styling to it. So the style.color will be now set to sky blue. Okay, so now we successfully create our element. We provide a style, we provide text to it, and we also provide a style to it. Okay, so now if you want to insert that, so for that we can use a method called insert adjacent elements. So I'm going to just first of all write a first paragraph and then insert adjacent, not HTML but element. So element, like so. Okay, so it will just take like where do you want to insert it and what do you want to insert it. Okay, so it will also take two parameters, like where do you want to insert it and what do you want to insert it. So we have a few values for that. So we want to just write like before begin. So before begin, as the name suggests, that it will just insert it before it begins. So if you just save that, and it will now place it right here. I'm going to just remove that, so it will now place it right here. I'm going to duplicate this line of code, and I'm going to just change that to after begin, AFTERBEGIN. Now if you save that, it will now place it right here. Okay, after it begins. I'm going to duplicate that one more time, and then we have before end. And now if you save that, it will now push it right here before the end of that line right here. Okay, so now if you duplicate that, and then we have a final parameter for that, like after end. And now if you save that, and it will now just put it after the end of that paragraph. So this is how you can work with the insert adjacent element. And then now let's just learn about this append and then prepend. These are kind of a similar ones. So I'm going to just comment out this one, and now let's just place this separator for here. And now let's just learn about append and prepend. So for append and prepend, it's kind of a similar and simple one to learn. Let's just get our section first of all. So we have this section with the text of hello inside there. So now if you want to get this, so I'm going to just write section. It will be now equals to document.query selector of section. Okay, so now let's just append or ally to it. You know what, I'm going to comment uncomment these line, or I'm going to copy this text from here, and I'm going to paste it right here, or cut that one paragraph and uncomment these. So now we successfully create our I tag right here, and we just provide inner text to be like I'm italic, and we also provide a color to be sky blue. And now let's just push that. I'm going to cut that from here. I'm going to paste it right here. Okay, so now if you want to push this I tag to this section by using append clause, so we can also do that. So let me just write section. Let's just write section and then append of this I. So now if you save there, and now here you can see it will now append this I am italic with the hello. So we are now appending this I tag on this section right here. So we can just create another one, like let's suppose const h4 will be now equals to document.create element, create element. Oh my goodness, come on, create element of h4, and then h4 will have the text of like, I don't know, inner text will be now set to maybe my own name, like Hussein. And now let me just change the h4.style.color to be crimson, and now let's just append that as well at the same time. So I'm going to just write h4, and now if you save that, and boom, here you can see it will now append this one as well. So if you just change that to span, and also change these to spans, and now if you save that, and it will now, you can see it will now be in line right here. Okay, so this is how we can append multiple things at once. So then the next thing which we have prepend. appends. So now if you save a file, so here you can see it will now append it at the beginning of that section, and if you just use that append, so it will just push it at the end of that selection. So if you save that, it will now push it to the end, and this prepend will just push it at the beginning right here. Okay, so that's it about create element, the append child before, append, prepend, insert JSON. Now let's just learn about remove child and remove. Okay, so it's kind of a self-explanatory. So if you want to remove that span, so you can just write span.remove. You know what, not span, let's just see. We have a new list. First of all, let me just get my new list real quick, and I'm going to comment all of this code right now, create a separator for myself, and now let me just write a new list. First of all, const new list, and it will be now equals to document.query selector of new list. Okay, so we have different kind of elements inside this new list. So I'm going to write new list dot remove child, child, and which child we want to remove. So we want to remove this one, or you know what, this one, fourth one. I'm going to give a class of fourth, so copy that, and let's just get our fourth as well. So const fourth will be now equals to document.query selector of fourth. Okay, so we have to just specify this fourth in it. So let's just write fourth, and now if you save that, it will now just remove that fourth from here. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 5. We don't have that fourth one. And if you want to remove all of them at once, like if you want to remove all of that list, so for that we have new list.remove, and boom. Okay, so it will just remove that. So if you want to remove the other stuff, so you can just use this remove method, and it will just remove it totally from the DOM. So in this section we learn about different kind of methods, like we learn about create element method, and create element method, as the name suggests, that it will allows us to create element. Then we learn about append child, it will just push or anything we just created at the bottom of the page, at the bottom of the list. And then we have insert before, it will just insert it before, and let me just put like what and where. Okay, then we have append method, and append will append our element at the end of the list, and prepend will append our element at the beginning of the list. We also learn about insert adjacent element before. We have a few properties for that, and we also learn about remove child and also the remove method. So we learn enough about in this section. So what else do we have to learn? So now the next thing which we are going to be learning is something called event listener in the DOM. Alright, so now that we are totally done with creating element, appending, and prepending, and all of that kind of a good stuff, so now let's just learn about something called events in JavaScript. So this is our HTML coding. It's not that much, but before we get into all of this coding, let's just ask our good old friend, like, what in the world is event? So what is event? JavaScript interaction with HTML is handled through events that occurs when the user or the browser manipulate a page. So when the page loads, we have different kind of events for different kind of things which we are going to be learning in this video. So like for example, when the web page load, it can call an event. The user can, if the user click on some button, the specific event can be called, or if the user scroll down, if the user drags something, if we just click on somewhere else, if we move our mouse to somewhere. So we have different kind of events for that. So I just kind of want to give you the definition of what event is. So let me just say that one more time. JavaScript interaction with HTML is handled through events that occurs when the user or the browser manipulates a page. When the page loads, it is also called event. When the user click on the button, that click is also an event as well. So that was just kind of a definition of our events. So now let's jump into our coder and let's just see what we have. So first of all, we have our doc type HTML, just a structure of that. Then we have our button with no classes, nothing inside there, but we just have a label of click me. Then we have another button with the class of second button with the text of learn, or you know what, bad way would be fine. So with the text of bad way. And then we have a button with the class of best and best way, and finally we just have our paragraph with the class of para. So this is it for our HTML. Now let's get into our JavaScript, and now let's just start working. Oh, you know what, we're not going to be just jumping into a JavaScript straight. First of all, we have to learn about the inline event. So how would you attach inline events to an inline or specific element in your web page? So now in this case we are going to be learning about inline event, but my suggestion will be to never use that. So if you want to attach inline events, so first of all you are going to be writing on, and then we have a click, and we have a lots of events for a lot of different kind of things. If I zoom out, if I just zoom out a bit like so, and if I just write on, so we have on a board, on blur, on can play through, change, click, context menu, double click, drag, and we have different kinds of events right here for different kind of things. But in this case, we are just interested in the click one, so we are going to be just working with the on click event right here. So now what do we have to do? Let me just write alert in here, and I'm gonna just put a value of like a. Okay, so if you save our file, and let's just launch this in our live server, so it will now just launch it. Alright, so now if I click on this click me button right here, so here you can see it will now give us this A right here. That's because of this event like on click. So whenever we click on this button, so something will happen. So we just attach alert. We can also just write like, I don't know, console.log of like hello. So let's just do that. Oh, you know what, or single quote would be fine, so that it doesn't give us an error like so. So if you save our file, open our developer tools, if we click on this click me, so anytime we click on this button, it will now give us this hello right here. That's because of this button, and my suggestion will be to never ever use inline JavaScript like that, and never ever use inline events. But I just kind of want to show you, like for some cases, if you just see like old code bases, so you will find this on click inline events, so be aware of that. So I'm gonna just comment this line for now. And now what else do we have? So we have a second button, and we are going to be learning about yet another bad way, and then finally we are going to be learning about a great way to attach event listener, and we are going to be also learning about event object. Okay, so now let's just write our bad way. So first of all, if you want to work the bad way, first of all we have to select something so that we can attach our event listener on there. So let's just select our second btn, and let me just write document.query selector, this one, and let me just get my second btn, zoom out, which is this second btn right here. Okay, so now we totally select our second button. Now if you want to attach your event listener, and this is the second bad way to attach your event listener, so first of all we have our selector like second button, and then we have on click. So if we click on that button, so what do we have to do? We are going to be just firing this function right here, or you can just put alert in here. And by the way, if you just put alert right here, and if I just put my own name, and if we save our file, it will now give us that alert right here, and our web page does not load up. This is another story, but I want you to know that it will block our web pages from execution. So if I just click on OK, it will just paint our browser right here. But never use this alert and this kind of bad stuff. So instead we can just use a function. If you just use a function like so, and if you just write console.log of Hussein, maybe Hussein web dev, and now if you save our file, and now if I just click on this bad way, it will now print us that Hussein web dev right here. And we have different kind of events, like we have on mouse move, I guess. So save our file. So now if I move my mouse over to that button, so it will now print my name that much time, like so. Here you can see countless time. So we have different kind of events, but for now I'm gonna just stick to on click event, and this is the bad way to write events. So I'm gonna comment this line out. Okay, this coding out, and now let's just learn about a great way to attach events using JavaScript DOM. Alright, so let's just select our best. So I'm gonna just select my best, document.query selector of best. And now if you want to attach event listener on this best by using a best way, so first of all we are going to be selecting our best like some sort of a selector, and then we are going to be using a method called add event listener, and this is the best way to attach your event listener to different kind of elements. So now here we have to specify like which kind of events we want to listen to. We have click, we have a DBL click, we have a mouse move click, we have mouse over, we have a lot kind of events which you are going to be learning just in a second. But in this case we are just interested in click event, so we will just pass our click, and then we have to pass some sort of a function. In this case we just pass our function manually right here, but now in this case we can also pass our function manually as well, like just pass anonymous function and then just write like console.log of hello world. And now if you save that, And now if I click on this best way, so here you can see it will still print that hello world right here in the console, but we can also just separate that function to somewhere else. So if you just copy that or cut that from here, and if you just put it right here, and we have to give them some sort of a name like greetings would be fine. And now we successfully create our function. Now we have to just pass the name of that function or the reference of that function inside this add event listener as the second parameter. So if you save our file, and now if you click on that one more time, so it will still work right here. Okay, so everything is working the way we expect them to work, and we can just still pass what we call it arrow function. So I'm going to comment this line out, and let's just remove these greetings from there, and we can still pass an arrow function. And by the way, if you guys don't know about arrow function, so I've got entire course on ES6 and there, if you want to check that out, it's totally free on my YouTube channel. So ES6 through ES whatever the best way is coming up. So I have a course on ES6, ES whatever, like all of these bleeding edge JavaScript. I have entire course on that if you want to check that out. Anyways, so if you want to check out the arrow function value, so feel free to do that. I've got a video on that arrow function as well. So this is how you can pass arrow function, and you can just write like whatever you want to write, like console.log of yellow and now if you save that, and if you click on that, it will print as yellow. And if you are using an arrow function, so you can also omit these curly braces from there. So if you save that, and now here you can see we get our one liner right here. And now if you click on this best way, it will now still print us that yellow. Okay, so this is how we can attach event listener. So in this video we just learned about 3 ways to attach event listener. This is the first way, the oldest, like the 90s way of attaching event listener by using inline event listener. And then we learn about the bad way, which is that by using this on click methods. And then we learn about a great way, which is by using add event listener, and this is also a modern one. Okay, so let's just comment this line out, and I want to also comment this line out as well. So now let's just learn about something called the event object. So let me just select my para, which is this paragraph right here. So let me just select that. Const para will be now equals to document.query selector of para. Okay, so now if you want to attach event listener on this paragraph, so we can just use like para and then add event listener, and we can just listen to a click event. And here we are going to be passing our arrow function, but we are going to be also passing our event object right here. So this is going to be a special object. It's not a parameter, it's a special object. So if you just log that to the console, like console.log and event, and now if event to be precise, if you save our file, and now if you just click on this paragraph right here, so here you can see we are getting this event pointer event right here. So this is an event object which contains information about a particular event which you're working on. So we are currently working on a click event, so it will now gives us information about this click event right here. If you are working on some other event, so it will just store the information about that specific event. Okay, so we have alt key and bubbles and bottom and all of these kind of stuff. Let me just use that in some sort of input right here. Inside this form we have an input right here, and let me just give a value of like or you know, we're not going to give any value. I'm going to remove this value from here, and also this action right here as well. Instead of that para, I'm going to just get my input and select that as an input, and this one will be also a input. So if you save that, we get our input box right here. And we okay, so if you click on that, so it will not just fire there. Let's just write form right here. So let's just save it, and now once the form is submit, so you want to listen for a submit event. So we have something, and we have to create a input of submit as well. Come on, man. Submit and no value is nothing. Okay, so we do have to provide a submit value to it, like so. If our form is submit, so it will just print us something. So all of this code means that first of all we are getting our form like this form right here, and we are just attaching event listener of submit. Like when our form is submit, like once we click on this submit button, so we want to just print like this event object. But if you just click on this submit button right here, so did you see that? Let me just click there one more time. Let's just click there. Did you see that flash of that event? So that's the form default behavior. Like whenever we submit our form, so it will just refresh our browser right here. So I want you to just notice this tile, and here you can see it will just refresh our browser. So if you want to remove that default behavior of the form, so for that we can get our event and then prevent default method right here. So we can use this method and we can just listen for that. And now if we save that, and now if I click on it, here you can see it will not refresh our web browser right here, and it will give us that data specific about that submit event right here. Okay, so we have different kind of events, and we can also get a values if you want to. So let's just get our input area. Let me just write const input, and it will be now set to document.query selector of input. So now we get our input right here, and let me just write input, and we can also get a value of that input. So if you save that, and let me just write apple, and now if you click on the form, and we are now getting apple. If you just write banana, and if you click on this banana, it will now give us banana right here. Okay, so we can do crazy stuff by using forms and events. So we can also shorten that to, instead of writing events, so we can just change that to E, and we can also change this one to E. So that's the, let's just you know what, we are going to I'm not going to give you that much of other example, but I guess that would be it about how we can attach event listener and what is event. So let me just review that one more time, and then we are going to be jumping into different kind of events for different kind of things. So JavaScript interaction with HTML is handled through events that occurs when the user or the browser manipulates the page. When the page loads, so we have different kind of events for page loads, like DOM counter loaded, it is called an event. And when the user click on a button, so there is also an event. So let's just say bye to that page or that site, and we learn about a few, or not a few, but we just learn about 3 ways to attach event listener, and we also learn about event object. Okay, so I guess that would be it for this section, and now let's just get into our new section called event in depth. So we have mouse event and we have keyboard event, and I'm not going to be going into that much detail. Like we have different kind of events for, like, let's just quick Google search that DOM events. So it will now give us different kind of events. So we have form events, we have keyboard events, we have mouse event, we have a lots of them. Like here you can see animation and blurriness, can play, change, click, copy, double click, drag, drop, and there are countless events. Like here you can see I can't like show you all of them, it will take like new course to show you all of them, but I'm gonna just show you a few of them, like those which you need in every single day, or not even every single day, but one time in a month. So I'm gonna just show you the important one, and you can explore others if you want to in your spare time. Okay, so say bye to that one. And now in this video we are going to be starting working on our mouse events. So first of all, we have index.html file and we have a mouse event. So now let's just collapse this area. So first of all, we have our body, then we have a paragraph, not one but we have a lot of paragraphs inside there, and we just give a classes of different kind of events like click and right click one, double click, mouse down, mouse enter, mouse leave, mouse move, mouse out, mouse over, mouse up. For different kind of events we have different kinds of definition of them. So I'm going to right click on there and open it with the live server, and this is how everything looks like right now. I'm going to open my DevTools as well. Alright, so we have a definition for the first one. The event occurs when the user click on the elements. So let's just start working on that. And by the way, we have a few colors like red, blue, teal, steel, blue, orange, purple, pink, crimson, chocolate, aqua. So we have different kind of colors right here. So we are going to be using that in our app.js. So we have click event, we have context menu, double click, mouse down, and all of their events which we are going to be exploring in this video. And we also have a reference, so like all of these events came from this W3 school. So if you want to go there, you just have to hold control and click on this link, so it will just open it right here inside of Google Chrome for you. So if you want to learn more about this, so you can in your spare time, but in my case I'm going to just show you all of them one by one. So let's just attach event to our first element, like 1. So I'm going to zoom in a bit, And I'm gonna just write like one.add event listener of click. So when somebody clicks on that element, so what do we have to do? On, or not on, but one dot class list dot toggle, and we want to just toggle this red. So now if you save our file, and now if you click on this element right here, so here you can see the text color is changed to red. That's because we are toggling this red class, and we have that red class right here inside our CSS file right here. So we are just toggling this class, and we are going to be also toggling the other classes just in a second. Alright, so that was quite simple and easy. So like if somebody clicks on the element, so this event will fire. The next event we have is that when the user right click on the element, so to open the context menu, so we have that one as well. So let me just write 2.add, or I don't want to waste your time. Let me just duplicate that, change these two to like 2, and now let's just change the event name to be context menu. Okay, so we want to attach, or we want to change the color to be blue. So if you just save our file, and if I just click on there, can you listen to that? If I just click on there, nothing will happen. But if I just right click on it, so here you can see it will now change the color to that kind of a blue color. So if you just right click on it one more time, it will just toggle that class again and again. So if you just right click on it, and now here you can see it will just work like that. Right click on it, and it will just attach or fire that function. So let's just duplicate that one more time and change that to the third one. Third, is that third or 3? Okay, it's a 3. And change the event name to what? DBL and click. As the name suggested, it will just if the user double click on there, so then this event will fire. So change the color to teal, save our file. If you just click on it one time, nothing will happen. If you click on it double time, like double click on it, so here you can see this event will fire, and it will now use this kind of a teal color. If you double click on it one more time, so that class will be gone because we are doing toggling. Let's just duplicate that one more time and change that one to what? 4, and also change the event name to mouse down, and also change this color to be steel blue. And now if you save our files, so first of all, let's just learn about the event occur when the user presses a mouse button over an element. If you just click on it, so here you can see this will this event will fire. It's kind of like a click event, but this is another way to use the mouse down. Come on, man. Alright, so then we have another one, which is the event occurs when the pointer is moved onto the element. And this one, and I guess the mouse move, both of them are the same. Let me just show you that one by one. So we have a 4, then we have a 5, and let's just change that to, instead of mouse down, we have mouse enter, like so, and change the color to be orange. And save our file. So what do we have? Okay, so once I hover my mouse over to it, it's kind of like a CSS hover. Once you hover a mouse over to it, so something will happen. So in this case, we are doing a toggling, so this is what's happening right now. Okay, so this is a mouse enter. It's kind of same like a hover one, and let's just change that to 6 one. So 6th, and also change this event to mouse leave. So let me just write mouse leave and change the name, or not the name, but the color to purple, like so. And now if you save that, if you just hover a mouse over to it, nothing will happen. But if you just mouse leave, here you can see that event will fire. And if you just hover over it, that event will, nothing will happen. But if you just hover a mouse out, like mouse out, so this event will fire. Okay, so let's just duplicate that, and you can learn more about that in your spare time. And SEVEN, mouse move and mouse enter is kind of like the same one. Mouse move, let me just show you that one as well. So we have a purple, we have a pink. So if you save that, and now if you mouse move, not that one. So if you mouse move, so first of all, if you mouse move, so it will now take this pink color. If you mouse out, so it will just remove that color from it. That's because we are doing a toggling, and this is how everything looks like. You know what, instead of mouse move 7, let's just comment this line out. 7 dot text content, let me now set to hello. And now if you save that, and now if you hover our mouse over to it, it will now give us that hello right here. I'm gonna comment that one, cut that one to be precise, and duplicate this one, and then we have a 8. Also change this one to mouse out. So once we mouse out, it's kind of like the same one, so change the crimson color to be crimson. So this one, not that one. So once we mouse up, so let me just refresh this page, and now once we hover our mouse over to it, nothing will happen. If we just hover it back, and this event will fire like so, nothing is happening. If you just go back, so that event will fire like so. Okay, so you can just play around with that if you want to, but all of them are the same kinda. So let's just change that one to 9. And mouse over, we already learned about CHOCOLATE. Why did I include that again and again? Once we mouse enter, is that a mouse enter? MOUSE over. Okay. This one is not working. NINE. Okay, so mouse over. Mouse over. Okay. So we give a class of mouse over, and we store that in the 9th one. NINE mouse over, and we just toggle the class CHOCOLATE CHOCOLATE like so. Now if you mouse over it, so everything is working the way we expect them to work. And then the final event we have is mouse up. It's kind of a stupid one. I don't know why people would create such an event like that. 10 and then mouse up. All of them are the same, you know. Equa. And now if you click on it, so here you can see all of them are kind of the same. Like, I mean, like, what's the point of just making 2 events like same? Click on this one, click on that one, and it will do the same thing. The event occurs when the user releases a mouse button over an element. Okay, we have to click on that. Kind of a stupid. Anyway, so that was our mouse event. So we have our click, then we have a on context click menu, then we have a double click, mouse down, mouse enter, mouse leave, mouse move, mouse out, mouse over, mouse up. So we have different kind of events, and we already learned all about that. And if you want to learn more, you just have to hold control and click on that, and it will bring you to this W3 school documentation. And you can even learn about a transition, page transition event. You can learn about a pop stat event, progress, and there are countless of them if you want to learn more about that. Let's just click on this one. And all event objects of the DOM are based on the event blah. Close that one as well. And now let's just learn about a keyboard event. So I'm gonna launch my index.html file, right click on it and open it with the live server, and open our developer tools right here, or dev tools. And let me just zoom in a bit. And inside this body we just have our input with the type of text, and we don't have nothing special in our HTML. Okay, so we just have a link. You can learn more about the keyboard events by going to W3 school if you want to, but we have a const input.query selector, and we select our input. Alright, so now let's just start work on our first event, which is a key press. So once we press some sort of a key, so that add event listener, and let me just write a key press, and here we just have to fire some sort of event, like, I don't know, I'm gonna just write console.log of key pressed. If you just press some sort of a key, so this event will not fire until we press some keys. So I'm gonna just press some random key right here. So these are random keys I'm pressing right now, and that event will fire that much time, like so. So that was the first one. Let's just duplicate that and change this one to, I'm gonna comment this out and change this event to key up. If you just hold our key, so that event will not fire. If we just release our key, so that event will fire. So key up, kind of a stupid one. And if you just let me just hold some button, I'm gonna hold this H. So I'm gonna hold this H, and that event will not fire. But if I just release that, and here you can see that event will fire. So if I just presses, and here you can see that will fire that much time. That event will fire that much time. Anyways, so that was a key up, and then we have the final one. Let's just duplicate that. and learn about something called a key down. So if the key is down, like key down, key press and key down is kind of a same, like key down, save our file. And if you just key down, like if you just hit some key, so this event will still fire like that much time. Anyway, so that was just it about for keyboard events. And now let's just learn a few useful properties and method related to this keyboard event. So I'm going to just write like useful properties, properties, and methods, like so. So now let's just use that. Let's just get our input, not that one, input, and use add event listener. And once we press some key, so we want to get our e, because this is important. And now let's just write console.log of e and then char code. So it will now use that character code. So if you just type something, like if I just type A, so it will now use the character code of 97, and then B 98, C 99, D, E, F, and blah blah blah. Okay, so any key I press, it will give us different kind of character code based on the specific key which I'm pressing right now. Okay, like so. And we are going to be building a project by using this char code and stuff like that. Let me just duplicate that and change this one to code, and I'm going to comment that other one line. So save our file, and now if I hit A, so it will now give us key A. If I hit B, C, D, E, F, G, it will just give us key and the specific key name. And then let's just use console.log of e.ctrl key. It will just check, did the user hold that key while pressing some sort of a key. So let me just write A, so it will now give us false, B still false. But if I just hit control and if I hit Q, so it will now give us true. Control and hit B, so it will now give us true. It will just give us true if the control key was hold, but if it will give us false if that wasn't the case. So now let's just log that to the console like key, not key, but e.key. And now if you save that, if you just write A, so it will now give us A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and blah blah blah. It will just print us all of the keys which you are pressing right now. And then we have a shift keys, so it will just check, did the user hold a shift while hitting on that key or not. So if I just write A, so nothing will happen, it will give us false. If I just hit I don't know, B, it will give us still false. But if I hold shift and hit Q, so it will now give us true. And if I just hold shift and hit G, it will also give us true, and so on and so forth. Okay, so these were just a few methods and properties which you can use throughout. And we are going to be also building a project by using these keyboard events and stuff like that. Alright, so now we are totally done with our DOM course, but you can practice that by going to like random websites if you want to. Like in my case, I'm gonna just go splash.com, and I can just explore there. Like I can just play around with the DOM, I can change the things, I can even change the images if I want to, and I can do a lot sort of stuff with that. And I'm going to be also giving you a project, like we are going to be building this 6 project in this video. But my recommendation will be to first of all go to random website, like I don't know, in my case I just came to Unsplash. You can go to Google and you can just play around with there, you know. Just select something by using a query selector, check out its code, like go to the elements panel and go to the body like the app, or you know what, you can just click on that and click around like anywhere you like, and it will give us different kinds of like classes. So you don't have to, let me just show you a quick real quick trick. So now that we click on this Unsplash, oh, like we just selected that Unsplash Award 2022, but if you just hit $ and 0, and if you hit enter, and here you can see it will now just select that paragraph for you. But this will only work on developer tools. So now if you just select this Unsplash right here, and if you go to our console and then $ and 0, and if you hit enter, so it will now just select that Unsplash right here. So we can just store that to some variables and stuff like I don't know, what can I do? I'm going to copy just single class of it, and I'm going to just store that to like const site name, and it will be now equals to document.query selector of that site name. And by the way, don't forget to include that period because it's a class. And now we selected their site name. Let's just see. site name, and if you hit enter, okay, so we can just use site name dot inner text. We can check out that one, or we can also change it to our own name like Hussein Web Dev, and if you hit enter, and here you can see it will now change the Unsplash to Hussein Web Dev. You can also find out how many images we have inside this all website, so we can just use like const imgs for document.query selector of just use img, and if you hit enter, and now if you just explore this imgs, and if you hit enter, so it will now just gives us the first one, because oh come on because we just use a query selector, not query selector. Let me just refresh that one more time. And now let's just use or query selector all in this case. I'm gonna just use const imgs and document dot query selector all, and let's just use our img, and if you hit enter, and if you just hit on img, so we have 17 images on just this one landing page right here. So if you just click on that, we can explore more, like we have this image, that one, we have other images down here, we can explore that, we can get a classes of them, we can do a lot sort of stuff with them. Like we learn enough stuff, we learn crazy stuff throughout this course. So my recommendation will be to just spend a few seconds, not seconds, I shouldn't have to seconds, but my recommendation will be to just spend a few hours just going to random sites and just exploring with that. Like you can even change the background color of this site. Let's just get into, you know, I'm gonna click on here somewhere, and okay, router, additional router, let's just select that real quick. I'm gonna hit $signs and $sign in 0, and now let's just get this class. I'm gonna cut that or copy this class, and we can even change the classes, like we can even change different kind of stuff, like I don't know, const header, or you know what, section, when it goes to document.query selector of that element or whatever, and section dot style dot background color will be now set to sky blue. If you hit OK, so something is there, cannot read a property of null. So we did miss something in here. You know, you can change the color of something else, like I don't know, excuse me. So what should we do? You know, I'm gonna go to some other site, like let's just go to Google Chrome site official web page, and now let's just play around with that. I'm gonna right click on it and go to the inspect area, go to the console and select that body, and let's just use $sign and 0, hit enter, and let's just copy that. And what do we have to do? I'm going to just store that in variable like section or header would be fine. So document dot query selector of that kind of a weird selector, and if you just check the header, it will now give us the header. We can change the background color of that, header dot style dot background color of that to like something else, like maybe sky blue, and if you hit enter, and there we go, your Google is now totally sky blue. You can even remove this stuff from here. Let's just right click on it, or you know what, let's just what can we do with that? Let's just remove this SVG from there. Selected. Okay, so we have different kind of lazy loading and stuff. Okay, that's the image. I thought it's an SVG, but it's an image. So now let's just use $sign 0, hit enter, and oh my god, this is a huge clauses. Let's just select, oh my god, let's just select this just lazy loading. Oh my, oh, you know what, we can also remove all of these images at once, I guess. Let me just refresh this browser. Let me just refresh that one more time and go to the top. Let's just get all of the images which we have, like I don't know, const or not const, let imgs, and it will be now equals to document.query selector all. Let's just get all of the images and imgs dot for each image. What do we have to do for each image? So for each image we want to remove img.remove. Okay, so all of the images are now gone from this Google Chrome right here. So you cannot find any image right here. You can change the name, you can change the text, you can replace, you can even put your own image if you want to. You can do crazy stuff with that. So I will highly recommend you to go to any site you want, your own site, like I don't know, you can go to any site you want and just play around with that. You can even change the background color of this button, you can increase or decrease it, you can provide animation and all kind of a good stuff like that. Okay, so finally, let's just jump into this project and start building our first project. So we have our first project, which is this random emojis, and we have index.html file in there. We have this CSS file and we have this JavaScript file. So I will already give you this SCSS as well, so you don't have to type this CSS again and again by yourself. So here you can see we have like just a basic doc type HTML, but we just have one div and we have this smiley emoji. And by the way, if you want to get emoji, I'm not sure about a Mac user, but if you are a Windows user, so I want you to just hold a Windows button and hit dot. So it will now give us a different kind of emojis right here. So you can just give a name of the emoji and it will give you that. In my case, if I just hit S, kind of a weird guy, so that's why we are getting kind of a smiley faces. So if you just select that, and there we go, you get your SVG. I'm going to remove that, and this is how we provide our text or image. You can also provide what do we call it, a font awesome if you want to. You can also provide render different kind of things, but in my case we just have a div with the ID of emoji and we just have one emoji inside there. And now inside the CSS we are just providing 100 pixel of height and displays flex direction is column, align items is center, and background is kind of a grayish kind of a background. And then we have our emoji, the font size we just increase it to 10 rem, and we just provide a little bit of filter of grayscale of 1, and cursor will be a pointer once we hover over to it. And transition we are just providing a transform of filter, and then we have a transition duration, it will take 200 millisecond, and once we hover over it, so it will just scale its size to 1.3, and the grayscale will be now set to 0. This is now set to 1, so once we hover over to it, so the grayscale will be set to 0. I'm going to launch that real quick. Stop the live server and open it with the live server. And now here you can see we have this image right here. If I just zoom out, and now if I hover my mouse over to it, so here you can see that grayscale is setting to 0, and this image is taking, this emoji is growing just a little bit, like 1.3. Alright, so it's scaling, everything is working the way we expect them to work. But first of all, let me just show you we have a few things. So we are first of all selecting our button, or emoji to be precise, not a button. emoji like so. And now here you can see we have different kind of emojis right here. I don't want to waste your time, so that's why I provided all of these emojis by myself. If you want to get some other emojis, so feel free to choose whichever kind of emojis you like, but here you can see we have these emojis right here. Alright, so now let's get into the event listeners and stuff. So we already select our emojis, so now let's just select that and attach event listener on them. So once we mouse move or mouse, let's just write mouse over, so once we mouse over through that emoji, so what do we have to do? We want to just fire this function right here. So what do we have to do inside this function? We want to select that emoji, and we want to just change the inner text of that emoji to these emojis. We want to get these emojis like a plural, and which we store inside this emojis variable right here. So we want to get that, and we want to just get a random emoji. So in JavaScript, if you want to get a random numbers, random colors, random emojis or whatever, so first of all you're going to be just writing a math.random, and then you're going to be just writing like times whatever you want, so times, and then emojis dot length. Okay, and yeah, I'm gonna also wrap that inside math.floor as well. Okay, so just zoom out a bit, and this is how everything looks like. And now if you save our file, and now if I hover my mouse over to it, I know that was just a one-liner code, but it's now giving us different kind of result right here, and we can achieve different kind of result, like we are now getting different kind of emojis. First of all, we are just attaching our event listener of mouse move, and once we hover our mouse over to it, so that event will fire and it will now give us random emojis. Okay, so that's the first project. I'm going to just remove everything And now let's just get into our second project. I'm going to open my index.html file, style.css file, and app.js file right here. I don't want you to write all of this code by yourself, so I've already given you a CSS. And by the way, I've already built this project, so you can check out all of these projects plus 100 more projects on my YouTube channel. So I have already built like 100 projects, so that will give you huge, and that will give you a lot practice if you want to sharpen your DOM skills. So I have already covered 100 projects on my YouTube channel if you want to check that out. Anyway, so inside this HTML file we just have our content container. Inside this content container we have our navigation. Inside this navigation we have a few inputs right here, like button, all of them will be button, and we just provide a different kind of values to it, like purple, blue, red, green, yellow, and teal. And we just give a class of btn to all of them, and then the same color of the which is like the value, okay, like purple, blue, red, green, yellow, and teal. So this is going to be it for the HTML. So what about the CSS? I'm going to just right click on it and open it with the live server, and this is how everything looks like right now. So what about the CSS? We just first of all write our resets, then we change the background color to that kind of a bluish kind of a background. Then we select all of our button, which we give this class right here, button, and all of them. And we provide a padding of 10 pixel for a top and bottom. Left and right will have 20 pixel. Cursor will be pointed, like once I hover my mouse over to it, so cursor will be pointer. We remove the background, I mean like the border. We change the color to totally white. The border we provide 2 pixels solid white. We give the width of like 120 pixel. The height will be 100 pixels. The margin will be 20 pixel, and text transform will be capitalized like so. Okay, then we select each of the color like this one. So we have purple, blue, red, green, yellow, and teal. We select each of them and we just change the background color of them to like that. And finally we just have our content container. I'm gonna have to put that up above like here, and we just give them a height of 100 VH, and everything is now totally at the center, and that's why we provide this content container class to it. Alright, so we are totally done with our HTML and CSS. So now let's get into our JavaScript and provide our interactivity to it. So what do we need for this project? First of all, we would need a button and a body. So first of all, let's just get all of the buttons. So document.query selector and all. So we have to just get all of these buttons, okay, not btns, but just a btn. So we have this button, and all of these buttons right here. Okay, so the next thing we would need is a body. So we are going to be just writing document.body. Okay, so now our selection is done. Now what else do we have to do? We have to iterate over through all of these buttons. So we want to just use like for each. So for each button we want to attach event listeners. So once we click on each button, so what do we want to do with that? So we want to change the number to be like btn.value. Okay, so whatever the button value is, we want to change that to a number. So let's just write a value. Come on, man. And also we are going to be using change background change background function, which we are going to be creating just in a second, and we are going to be passing that number in there. All right, so that's that. And now let's just create that function real quick. So I'm going to just create that function like change background, and it will also take the parameter of number. Okay, so let's just write a body, and the body class name will be now set to empty class because we don't want to provide any classes and stuff for the body. So now let's just use switch and cases, and you can also use if and else statement if you want to. And we are going to be working on the parameters, so like this number which is coming from this one, and we are going to be passing the button value inside this change number, unlike change background right here. Okay, so you get the idea. So now we have to write our first case like purple if the color or the number is purple, so purple like so. Oh, you know what, instead of number it should be a color, isn't it? So I'm gonna just change that to, I'm gonna hit F2. Okay, it's not taking that F2, so I'm gonna select that manually. It should be a color. I guess that color will be fine. Why the hell do I just write number if the color is purple? So we want to just set the body dot class list dot add, we want to attach this purple purple class to it. So, and then we want to break out from this loop, and we have this purple class right here. So right here you can see that. and we want to break out from this loop, and I'm not gonna do duplicating there. So then we have another case for a blue. So if our case is blue, so what do we have to do? We want to just write a body.classlist.add the color of blue to it, and we already wrote that inside our CSS. If you want to check that out, so you can. And then if the case is set to red, so you want to just write body.classlist.add the color of red to it, and we also want to break out from this loop. And then we have a case of green. Okay, so let's just write a green case, and body.classlist.add green color to it, and we also want to break out from it. Then we have another case for a yellow like so, and body.classlist.add color of yellow and break out. And finally, we just have a last case for the teal color, and we are going to be just setting the body.classlist.add, and we are going to be changing the color to be teal. And let's just break out from this loop, break, and we also want to provide a default for it. So default will be just break. And now if you save that, let me just show you the coding. Or you know what, let's just test it out. If you click on it, so purple, blue, red, green, yellow, and teal, everything is working, but we have a few cases. We can also use an if and else statement for that if you want to, but I guess their switch and cases are looking a bit better, so I'm gonna just go with that. So if the case is purple, so you want to just change the background color to be purple. If the case is blue, so you want to change that to blue, to the red, to green, yellow, teal, and finally we just want to break out from the loop. Okay, so this is the second project, and we are now totally done with our second project as well. Now let's just start working on our third project. So I'm gonna just open all of these files, and we are going to be building a feedback UI. So first of all, let me just show you the feedback UI coding. So we have HTML. So for HTML, we have a section with the class of panel container, and we also have ID of panel. Then we have our strong tag with your feedback as the label. Then we have our div with the class of rating container, and inside this rating container we just have our singular rating, singular container, and then we have different kind of ratings for it. Like we have a rating, then we have an icon for that specific rating, and we have a small tag of unhappy, then we have a neutral, and then we have a satisfied right here. Okay, so finally we just have a button at the bottom, and the class will be button, and the ID will be send, and it will just say like send feedback. And now if you right click on that and open it with live server, and once again I'm saying that if you want more practice on the DOM, so I have 100 projects on my YouTube channel which also include all of these projects. Like I've already covered all of these projects in a real great depth in my course, like 100 projects in 100 days course. If you want to check that out, I'm just skipping through all of this HTML because I have already have a videos, like entire section of the videos on these projects as well. So if you want to check that out, that will be a great fit for you. And then we have a style sheet. So we have like first of all a reset, then we have a body. We just give them a color of we just change the color to kind of a blackish kind of a blue color. Then we have font family of sans serif, and we want to center everything. We provide a height of 100 VH. We want to overflow hidden, and margin will be 0. Then we have our panel container, which is this panel container. So we just give him a background of that 1D 1C kind of a bluish kind of background. Then we also give him the box shadow, and we also give him a border radius of 4 pixel, and we have font size of 90%, and we also set out everything to the center, and we have a padding of 30 pixel, width will be 700 pixel, and the color will be totally white. Then we have our container, which is that container right here, which is holding all of these ratings. So like we have rating 1, rating 2, and then we have a rating 3 right here. Okay, so then we are just first of all centering everything, and we give them the max width of 500 pixel on there. Then we have a panel container, and which is holding a strong, which is the strong, oh my god. Alright, this is a small one. Yeah, this one, your feedback. So we are just giving a line out of 20 pixel, and text alignment will be totally centered, so it's now center. Then we have a ratings container, which is this one. and we're just using display of flex and margin of 20 pixel for top and bottom, and for left and right we have a 0 pixel, and then we have a rating, just a singular rating, which is that one. We are just giving a flex of 1, cursor will be pointer, padding will be 20 pixel, margin top and bottom will be 10 pixel, left and right will be 5 pixel, and once you hover over to it, and if our rating is active, so you want to provide a border radius of 4 pixel and background color to be that CCC, and transition will be taking 1 second each. So if you just hover over it and if you click on it, so like when it's become active, we are going to be providing the active functionality once we jump into our JavaScript, but I just kind of want to tell you that. And then we have a rating icon, which is that one, and we'll give him a width of like 40 pixel. The font size will be 5 frame, and the margin for the right will be 10 pixel. And then we are just styling our small tag and our button just a little bit. And if our button is active, so we want to use a transform of scale, we want to just scale it a bit. Kind of lost my mind. Okay, so we have a hard once we submit our feedback. Anyway, so now let's just get into our JavaScript and write our code first of all, and then you'll get to know how this project will look like. So first of all, let me just zoom in a bit so you guys can see everything a bit better. And getting elements from the DOM. So we would need a few things. So we would just first of all need a ratings, and it will be now equals to document.query selector of all, and you want to get all of the ratings. Okay, not a singular rate, but ratings, like plural. And then we have a const ratings container, and it will be now equals to document.query selector. Query selector, just a singular query selector, and we are going to be selecting our ratings container, which is this ratings container right here. And then we have our send button, so consend bt, and it will be now equals to document dot query selector, come on man, like so. And we are going to be using a pound symbol of send, which is ID, I guess. Yeah, we are going to be selecting that one. And const panel will be now equals to document.query selector of panel, like so. Alright, so we are totally done with our selection. So now the next thing which you have to do is that we have to select our selected rating. This is going to be our default selection, like satisfied. Okay, zoom out. It will be now set to satisfied, and now let's just attach events to that ratings container. So we have a ratings container, and if you just provide add event listener to it, if you click on it, so then we want to get our event object. And now let's just check if our e.target.parent node class list contains ratings. So let's just check for that. If that contains ratings, so what do we have to do? We are going to be first of all logging that to the console like e.target. Okay, let's just copy that from here so you guys can see everything, and I want to paste that right here. And now let's just save that and open our developer tools, click on it. So true, everything is working. Yeah, it is including that. So let's just comment this line out, and we are going to be passing our function, which we are going to be creating just in a second, like remove active. Okay, so we are going to be passing our function, and then we just have to use like e.target that parent. You know what, I'm gonna place that right here. Instead of that contains, I'm gonna just write add, and let's just write active instead. And then selected ratings, which we've created this variable right here up above, and will be now equals to e.target.next element sibling, element sibling, and then inner HTML, like so. It will be now equals to that. Underneath all of that, let's just attach our event listener on this send button. So send button.add event listener, and once we click on it, so what do we have to do? We have to just fire this function. So panel.inner HTML will be now equals to this template literal, and we are going to be placing our own HTML. So we have our paragraph with the class of heart, and we already styled this heart right here, as I forgot just a second ago. And let's just put our heart in it, so we have a heart right here. And let's just close that paragraph tag right here. Write a strong and thank you. Close that strong right here. And then we have a BR for breaking. And finally we have another strong feedback, BACK, and then selected feedback rating. And now let's just let's just close that strong tag as well. Alright, so now we are totally done with that, but now let's just create this remove active function, and we are going to be totally done with this project as well. So remove active, okay, so it will not take any parameter or nothing, but inside that we are going to be iterating over through, like let I equals to 0, I is less than ratings dot length. So we are just iterating over through this ratings length, and then ratings dot index dot class list dot remove. So you want to just remove that active from it. So now if you save that, and let's just zoom out a bit, and this is how, first of all, we have a selector, then we are just attaching our first event listener, and we are just checking if e.target.parent element class list contains the class of rating. So if that's true, so you want to remove that and we want to add that active class on it, and we want to set the selected rating to this next element parent. So we want to select this selected ratings which we've created up above. So we want to select that to selected rating, which is like either neutral, unhappy, or satisfied. And then if you just click on the send feedback, so we are just attaching event listener on that, and we create our own panel, and we just change the inner HTML to like, first of all, they will get like hard, they will get like strong tag of thank you, then we have our feedback, so it will just show up that kind of a feedback for them, and we are iterating over through that. Now let's just check them out. Unhappy, send feedback, thank you, feedback, unhappy. And now let's just click on neutral, send it one more time, thank you, feedback, neutral. Now let's just click on the satisfied and satisfied. So everything is working the way we expect them to work. Alright, so now we are totally done with our third project as well. The next project is kind of a simple, you already have everything which you need, and we are going to be building that just in a second. It's not that much hard. This one, the key code, is the most simple one. I should have put that in the first one. I just want you to know that this one is simple one. That's what I meant. Right click on it, open it with live server, and if you press some key, nothing will happen. Inside the body we have first of all a div with a class of insert, and then we have a div with a class of key, and then the label of press any key to get the key code. So we are going to be just getting a key codes and all of that kind of a good stuff. We are just providing a research for it. We have a height of 100 pixel, we have sans serif, and everything is center, and then we have overflow is 0. We are just providing a background of linear gradient to it, and we are selecting that insert ID right here, and the background color will be white like so, this one, and padding will be 50 pixel. And we are now getting a key, which you will see just in a second, and we are styling that key, and also there's small text inside that key. So that's it for HTML, and that's it for a CSS. And by the way, you can check out my 100 project for more details if you want to. Alright, so for JavaScript, we will get our insert key first of all. So document.getElementById. We didn't use that for a while, so now let's just use getElementById of insert. Okay, so now let's just attach our event listener on a window. So if we just attach event listener on a window, if we just hit key down, so we want to get our event like event, and our event will be now equals to insert.innerHTML will be now equals to this backtext right here. So we are going to be just rendering our div with the class of key, and let's just close that real quick. So let's just close that. Now let's just render our data inside there, like event.key. So we are getting that event, and we are just getting a key, which you learned just in a second ago in a keyboard event. So if that's equals to empty strings, so we are just using our ternary operator right here. If that's equal to space, so if we just write a space, so we want to just get a space. And if that's not equal to space, so we want to just get our key. Let's just duplicate that, or you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna just duplicate that 2 times. So the ID will be key, or the class will be key, and then we have event dot, let's just remove the other stuff, it will be now set to key code, and this one will be now set to just a code, simple code. I'm gonna write a code in here, and I'm gonna also put a small tag in here as well, so small, and then event.key code. Copy that and paste it right here, and event.code would be fine. And now if you save that, and now if I hit any key, and now here you can see it unlock uses the key name. Okay, so we are missing something right here, so copy that one, and I'm gonna paste it underneath that one, and this should be just a key. So if you save that, and now if I just hit A, so it unlock uses the key of A, the key code of 65, and the code will be just key A. If I hit B, it will unlock uses B and 66, and the key code will be B. C, D, E, F, G, and everything is working the way we expect them to work. Okay, so we have just interactive function or interactive project right here. So we are now totally done with this project as well. So now the next project which we are going to be building is a simple calculator. So you already have a styling and you already have your HTML code, and I've already built this project in my 100 projects as well. So if you want to check that out, first of all we have our div with a class of main, then we have a div with a class of input. So we are going to be storing different kind of inputs in there, and then we have our h1 with a class of results. So we are going to be printing our results in there, and then we have our select options. So we have different kind of options right here, so plus, minus, division, multiplication. Then we have two inputs with the class of number 1 and number 2, and both of them will take that type of input, and placeholder will be number 1 and number 2. And then we have a div with the class of submit button, and then we just have one button with the ID of btn and the label of submit in there. And as a CSS, first of all we have 100 pixel of height, and we are just centering everything. Background will be crimson, text will be white, and font will be sans serif. We are just getting a 5 pixel of padding for top and bottom, and left and right will be 0 text, and our alignment will be set to center. Input will be flex, everything will be flex, direction will be column. And then we have our input, border will be none, border radius will be 5, padding will be, we just comment that out, padding will be 1 rem at the top and bottom, and 10 rem for the left and right, and outline will be none, margin for bottom will be 10 pixel. For select option we have margin bottom of 10 pixel and padding of 10 pixel, and outline will be none, and we have a button, a little bit of styling for that button. Right click on it and open it with a live server, and this is how everything looks like. Okay, so now let's jump into our JavaScript and provide our interactivity to it. So first of all, let me just write my document get element by ID, and I want to get my button first of all, and I'm gonna just attach our event listener straight in. Okay, and let's just fire this function. Okay, let's just zoom out a bit, and first of all let's just get elements from the DOM. Zoom in a bit, and let's just get our elements. So like let num1 will be now equals to document dot query selector of dot or period num1, and we want to get a value straight away. And now let's just duplicate there and change this one to num2, and this one will be also num2. Then we have results, or result to be precise, and then we have a document dot query selector of result, like so. Then we have operator operator of document dot get element by ID or select op not t but just op, and we want to get the value of that one as well. So now we totally get elements from a DOM, and now let's just use our switch and cases, and you can use what do we call it, if and else statement if you want to, but in my case I'm going to just stick to the switch and cases. So the first case we have, if the operator is plus, so we want to just get the results result dot inner HTML will be now set to just plus and then num1. So this just simply means it will now convert one number or a string to just a number, like so, and then we have a number to num2. Okay, first of all I will just write it that way, and then we will refactor our code. If that's a plus, so we want to just get that result. If the operator is not plus but it's minus, so we want to get a result for the minus. So instead of plus, I'm going to change that 1 to minus and break out from a loop. And then we have a case for the division, and then let's just place that to divide and also break out from it. And then we have another case for multiplication, so I'm going to just write multi in here, multi, like so, and I'm going to pass this one right here and change that one to multiplication sign. Save our file, zoom out a bit, and now this is how it looks like. So we have a few statements like if the case is plus, so you want to change the result, the inner HTML, to just a number 1 string and number 2 string, and we are converting that string to a number, and we have an operator of plus, then we have minus, then we have division, and then we have multiplication right here. So now let's just check them out. So we have 2 and 2, and if you click on this submit, so it will now gives us 4, and if we change the operator to minus, and 2 minus 2 will give us 0, and then 2 divided by 2 will give us 1, 2 times 2 will give us 4. Okay, so everything is working the way we expect them to work. Now let's just try it on 10 and 10. Let's just try it on plus and 20 minus 0, and divide is 1 and times will be 100. Yeah, everything is working the way we expect them to work. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all of these numbers by holding Control and hitting D. I'm going to remove that, remove the other one as well, and now let's just put a plus right here. So it will also work the same, like it will also convert our string to a number. So let's just put a 2 and 2 in here, so 4, then we have 2 minus 2, then it will give us 0. 2 divided by 2 will give us 1, and 2 multiplied by 2 will give us 4. Everything is working the way we expect them to work. Alright, so now let's just start working on our final to-do application, and that's going to be the last project of our course. Okay, so right click on it and open it with live server, and there we go. We have our to-do list right here. Let's just change that one to to-do list. Okay, so collapse this head area. So first of all, we have our div with a class of container, then we have one form inside that container, and inside this form we just have one input with a class with a type of text and the placeholder of enter to do, and then outside from there we just have our to-dos container right here. Alright, so then we have a styling for reset, then we have margin, like a body will be totally crimson, the background. First of all, we have to get our elements from the DOM. So getting elements from the DOM. Let me just write a form first of all, and it will be now equals to document.query selector of form. Okay, so duplicate that a few times, so then we have our input, and then finally we have our to-dos. Okay, so change this variable names to be like input, and also this one to be to-dos, like so. Alright, so now let's just create our function and give a name of like get to do, and let's just put a value inside that, and creating new elements. So first of all, we are going to be creating our new elements. So if you want to create new elements, so like to do in this case, we are going to be using document.create element, as we learned that just in a second, and we want to just create a simple div, and we want to also create our text element. So we are going to be using document.create element, and we are going to be just passing our span in there. Alright, so that's it for creating a to-dos. Oh, now let's just write setting values and style and styles for our text element. So I'm going to just write text element dot inner HTML, and it will be now equals to the value, whatever the value we provide, like value. Alright, so now let's just append our element to the DOM. Okay, so we are going to be using to-do.append child. We are going to be using append child, child, like so, and then text element. Now let's just create our close button real quick, like that. Close element, it will be now equals to document.create element of span. This course is getting longer and longer, so that's why I'm just going a little bit fast. Inner HTML will be now equals to this HTML entity. So first of all, we are going to be placing our and symbol, then we have our times, and then close it, like so. And then we have a close element, close L dot class list. Let's just attach or add and delete class, delete, which we have right here inside our CSS, this delete class. And we also have a class for to do, which we created right here, this to do. All right, so save our file. Let's just attach our event listener to it. So attach events like so, and now let's just attach event listener on close element. And if we click on it, so add event, oh my god, event listener, oh my god, close element dot add event listener like so. And now if we click on it, so what do we have to do? We have to just create a function, and we want to get our object and to do's dot remove child, and we want to just remove that to do from it. If you click on that close element, and what else do we have to do? So we want to just write to do dot append child of close element, and we also want to just provide a class of add, and then the to do class which we've created right here. Okay, so then let's just return to do. Save our file, everything is working. Now let's just get our form dot add event listener, and once that form is submitted, so then we want to get our element, our object, and let's just get our prevention, let's just set that to default. Let's just get our value and input dot value. So whatever we have our value, and then now let's just check if value dot rem, because we want to remove that empty spaces from there. So then we want to just return. In this case, we can also provide curly braces if you want to, and then to do's dot append child, and append child, let's just append or get to do of value to it, and input dot value will be now set to empty string and blah. We are now totally done with our project. So if you just write like one, it will now give us that one right here with the styling. So if you just click on this X, so it will just remove it from our DOM. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on and so forth. And you can remove whichever kind of element you like, and everything is working the way we expect to work. That was a lot of talking for me. I don't know how long I record this video, but that was a lot of challenge, a huge challenge for me to record all of that video. Anyways, so I'm assuming and I hope that you learned enough about a DOM. And if you want to practice your skill, like if you want to learn more about a DOM, if you want to practice on a project, so I've got you covered. I have 100 projects, and I'm currently working on new projects to add on that playlist, so you can check out that. If you want to learn more about HTML, CSS, so I've got a 16-hour plus course on that one with building 16 project by just using HTML and CSS. I have a Sass course, I have different kinds of other courses, I have ECMAScript courses. You can just check out my YouTube channel, and you can just learn a lot of stuff about JavaScript and GOLANG and all of these technologies. So thanks for watching, and that was it about the end of this course. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.